Go live here. All right, we're live.
Welcome back to the Freeborn Podcast. I'm here with my biggest guest of the year, Albert Silva. Welcome to the Freeborn Podcast.
Hold on, let me check. Yeah, I got it. So we might have to cut out a little early today.
Careful, don't get us banned on YouTube, Albert.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
You're gonna get us kicked off 1 minute into the podcast. How you been?
Good.
Been a while since you were last here.
Yeah, it's been a while. Man, you're really hurting for people, right?
You have no idea. You have no idea.
Well, the last two, three people that heard my whole story, I guess they're gonna have to hear it again.
Yeah, your whole story. Yeah. That's funny. No, I wanted to talk to you because of all the policing stuff going on in the country today, and crazy stuff going on. Did you watch the verdict and all of that, the trial of the guy from Minnesota? The policeman?
Yeah, I watched some of it. It was hard to keep up. I was, it was kind of a busy week. I mean, I actually saw some people, walk around with their phones, and you could hear that that's what they were doing.
You mean at work?
Yes, yeah. So I kept track of it through other people. I didn't sit there and watch minute by minute.
And what did you think of all that?
Well, there's evidence that says one thing, and then the jury said another. I just, my opinion, I'm trying not to say too much, but
yeah.
Like I said, the last time we spoke about what happened, certainly was not a way to go about things, because it looked bad. Period. That's all it looked.
Right.
But the medical side of it said something different, and so I would go with, like we talk about today, going with the science, and it seemed like that the verdict kind of went against that. So that's, in my opinion, that's the way I would lean. If I punch you in the nose and you die from liver cancer 10 minutes later,
right,
it wasn't the punch in the nose that killed you; it was your liver cancer. So that's how that's how it.
It seemed to me that it seemed to me that it was going to be very difficult for there to be a fair trial on that case because of the incredible amount of media exposure there was and pressure there was to all parties involved.
Oh yes, yeah, and that's what I thought that too. I thought, this is just, even if you change venue, put it somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't know where else you could put it. That hadn't heard of that case, and the whole world was rioting over it.
And that's what I think. I don't want to say that that's what they push towards, but maybe individually they say, "Oh, we don't want our." Well, maybe not. Maybe part of it in their thought, in their thinking. I guess I'd be afraid too. Say, "Hey, man, if I say this, it's going to cause probably more deaths, probably more." And the guy needed to go to jail. But no, okay, so let's back up a little bit. If I'm correct, because I've heard a couple guys say this, that was in their training to hold somebody down that way, and it wasn't on the neck. He was holding him down. So what I do, back up a little bit. So I work in family violence right now, and when if I have to take a report on a choking strangulation case, one of the things we ask them: were you able to breathe? Could you speak? Oh yeah, I was talking the whole time. I was telling him to stop when he had his hands on my neck, or whatever pressure he was. And they say she, females do it too.
Correct.
If you can speak, you can breathe. And so, if you watch the video, he's telling you, I can't breathe. So there's a difference between I can't breathe and I can't breathe. People say, "Well, I'm starving." Well, no, you're not starving. You're just.
Have you ever said that?
Oh no. Well, it's kind of, it works both ways. I'm always starving, but not in the sense that I'm about to.
Yeah, let me move this a little bit forward.
Not about to, starve to death. That's never going to happen. Well, if it did, it'd be a.
But I get what you're saying.
Process.
Yeah.
before I actually died. Got plenty of reserves. Yeah, no, I just think that if someone can still speak, then their air is not obstructed.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I didn't watch the play-by-play, so um, I can't. I don't like to watch the mainstream media. I don't like to because it does aggravate me. A lot of things that I see is just so blatant. It's like, oh, really? You're gonna say that after? And so yeah, try to watch what I think is good media. And but even then, I just
That's
got to.
getting harder and harder to find.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. There's I don't want to be labeled as a certain type of thinker because
Mm-hmm.
in my business now, especially, I got to be careful what I say, what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and there's people lose their jobs over just having an opinion.
Yeah.
You got to be careful with that. And
My problem and I didn't watch the trial. I followed it through reporting. So I didn't actually like watch the trial. But my problem wasn't the verdict that was returned. I didn't have a problem with that. I mean, I don't know that it's fair or good or bad. I'm not the jury, and I do believe in the jury system. What I didn't like was the politicians and people in power commenting on the case before it was decided.
yeah,
I thought that was I thought that contaminated the case.
it was extremely politicized from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of a certain reason that that officers are doing certain things, and that's you know I just can't see that. And I'm not saying that there's not individuals who have that mentality. I mean, it's probably never going to go away. But collectively, I don't think any group of policemen go out and deliberately
Target one group or another.
one specific group of people. There's just no way. I mean, it would manifest itself. And
Have you ever seen that in where you've worked?
No, and not with SAPD and not with Bear County, not at all. I mean, it's just not there. And if there isn't a department that that would do that, I know that it would show itself quickly. It's not gonna everybody's gonna say this is okay unless you got some small town department in some place it's.
But most of these cases are not small down departments.
No.
They're large city departments that are being accused of having this bias.
Right. Yeah.
Have you ever seen somebody get dealt with of an individual in your time in the force in different forces, where somebody was out of line or something, an individual, and did they deal with it, or did you never?
Not for the particular reasons that are going on today. No, not at all. I haven't seen anything myself personally. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but
So you haven't ever seen such a thing that you thought that you would look at and say that was racism?
right? Nope, not at all. 30 years, by the way. So I'm working on 30 years, total combined time.
Yeah, with the different departments.
Right. So, yeah, I just can't think back in my short-term memory.
See, the way that people think about it, I think, well, at least the way I hear it, everyone's a world in their own head, right? But the way I hear people talking about it is they see that the police like go out on the street and they're like looking around for who they're wanting to target, who they're looking for. Is that how policing works? So if you're a lot of these people that are being, a lot of these officers who are being accused are often like patrolmen. They're patrolling streets, right? How does that work? When you go out, you were a patrolman for how many years?
For SAPD is 25 years.
You were patrolling 25 years. So how does that work? Explain to me how it is that where you are physically, geographically in a location, and then what you're looking for. How does that work?
Okay, so if you're a district man, then you go to the same geographical area every day.
Like how big is that area in your case?
Yeah, there's just depending on. I guess they went off of population.
But in your case, like what size area are we talking about?
Oh, yeah, it was a couple square miles because I know that I was closer to like Loop 410, Morrison Road, Commercial. Um, I I can't remember my north border at that time because it's changed. Um, but yeah, I would say maybe 2 square miles, maybe.
Okay.
So, and then you had your neighborhood, and then so those in that area, the yards are bigger. There's fewer homes, so um, it was a larger, square. You get a little closer, still on the south side, but south of 90, you'd have a more denser population, so the district tended to be a little smaller. But you still had probably the same amount of people. I don't know how the city exactly did that, but you can tell why. It's just more people in there. It's a smaller
Right.
square, what we call them. So I'd get out, to answer the questions. So if I uh, was assigned to a particular district for that day, or if I was a district man that worked the same one every day, you try to gravitate towards your area. Gotta have breakfast. Sometimes the restaurant's on the way or out of the way, but so you get there, and then what happens is the dispatcher's going to tell you, hey, they're going to call you, they give you a call sign. Hey, there's such going on. There's a report for this, or whatever it is. Somebody calls. There's something weird going on, suspicious. Uh, then you'd make your way to that call, either a report. A good district man usually. See, I got to know towards the end. I got to know some of my people in that area. And,
Sorry, real quick.
that's
No,
okay.
keep. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So I had nice alleys in my district, so I drive through, and I.
Give me 1 second, Hilton. We need to check. Go up to edit. Make sure that we're. Oh no, we're good. We're public. Okay. I got people asking why we're not on. I'm sorry, Albert.
That's all right.
Anyways, you got people in your district.
Yeah, so if I knew there was a problem area, or I knew that this, and it's kind of okay. So I'm trying to be a crime deterrent. I'm also trying to be an extra work deterrent. So if I know that there's guys down the road, these guys are always burglarizing. They live in a house. You don't have anything that day. I can't just go in there kicking the door and say, "I know you burglarized something. Come on." You can't do that.
Right.
But you knew your little hot spots. Um, and I try to make it a point, especially in my square. Um, I gravitate to that area and let them know, and you got to know some of the guys, or the people in the neighborhood, and they'd see you, hey, they were doing this, they were doing that. Okay, um, I'm gonna pass by there. I'm gonna make my presence, known to them, and and drive off. Come back, drive off, as much as I could. Any area, whatever it's at, whatever it is. Some guys it wasn't a house; it was just a guy that, maybe a homeless guy's always riding a bike. So and you kind of learn to say, hey, you got to be careful because if I ask a guy riding a bike just because he looks suspicious, hey, what are you doing around here? I'm riding my bike. It's none of your business. He has every right to tell me that.
Right.
Because he hasn't broken the law. We don't have to, we don't have to answer any question to anybody as long as you're not doing anything. But you look for that, and so by doing that, you kind of deter crime, and that's how you start things. Now, if you have a person said, "Hey, they were just in the neighbor's garage," or he rolled out and that thing in his hand, it's not his. I know that guy, and that's not some. Well, now I can step it up a little bit because I still don't know if maybe that man hired him to take this and run it down to the friend's house. So we got to get that in from. We got to build up, the probable cause to be able to get up into somebody's life. Of course, now traffic law is different. All you need is a missing taillight, or
Yeah.
you have to have a reason to stop somebody, and then you work it from there. But that's how a good district man just gets to learn his neighborhood, gets to learn his people, and if the guy wants to answer the question, I tell him, hey, everything all right? You kind of just been riding in circles here. You don't really, I don't know you. You may live somewhere. I don't know every house. No, I don't need you. I don't need you. But if he says, well, no, I'm just riding around, and his answers aren't what I think, sound. Or maybe he's a little nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't. Well, give me your ID, but I can let him know, hey, I'm watching you. And that's how you just have to work your way up. If he takes off, even if he takes off, I've seen officers do that. Hey, they call somebody over and the guy takes off running. The guy takes chase, and I'm kind of just tagging along because I'm thinking, well, I don't, something happens, I don't want to be the guy that just didn't help. But
Yeah.
why are we chasing him? He decided to run. It's his right to do so. So those are those little areas. That
So you wouldn't normally chase after someone in that situation like that? If you
back in the old days when I was a little more streamlined,
a little lighter on the feet.
Yeah, when I would chase people,
A little more aerodynamic.
I've never been aerodynamic. Nothing dynamic about me. But yeah, I mean, but I just have to have a reason. Now, if if he's coming from a known drug house, sometimes you can see the exchange. They pull up, something goes down, you get down the road. You get a reason to ID people. Well, this guy there's so many traffic laws that they pull out of a driveway not making a complete stop. That's you're supposed to make a complete stop exiting a private drive, onto a public road. So that you got your first foot in the door, and you work it from there. But yeah, it just takes more than, and I think a lot of people believe that we just go around picking on. Yeah, I do look well back then because I'm not on the street anymore.
Yeah.
But what I did look for was bad guys, and I say bad, I just mean lawbreakers. It might not because most of the people that sat in the back of my car, once it's all over with, pretty nice people, easy to talk to, and I've had the ones that don't like me. Well, I can't do anything about that. But and of course, after I became a Christian, well, I say I got saved in the '80s, but after I started serving the Lord and turned my life back around to Christ, I used that every opportunity to those that wanted to hear it. I certainly would preach to them. But anyways, I'm getting off the question.
No, that's fine. So that's one of the things that I think irritate a lot of people. I know it does me. That it seems like policemen are using innocuous violations, even ones you're not aware of, like your taillight being out, to harass you.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I guess there can be 9 times out of 10, the encounter would be, hey, I'm just letting you know you have if I stop somebody and their taillight's out, I can't tell you that I just wrote a ticket just to write a ticket. I did use it, call it harassment. It's still, we're responsible. We're supposed to check our vehicles, do our little once around and make sure,
Do you
everything.
every time you drive away?
Are you kidding? Sometimes I don't even know what car I'm getting in. Forgot this one doesn't have a motor. Yeah, but it is what it is. It's still a traffic law violation. So you use that. So like I said, 9 times out of 10, hey, I'm just letting you know your tail light's out. I love to see that look though. You're not gonna write me a ticket? No. Even the ones that were speeding, as long as they weren't doing anything crazy, I just couldn't, with good conscience, write. Speeding.
See, that's one of the things that I like and I think is very different. I think San Antonio PD, and I don't know about other big cities, but I know SAPD is very different, I think, mainly in how they deal with those kind of things as opposed to how, like, little town up the road from me does.
Yeah. Well, so with both agencies, I know that there's a whole different way of policing compared to down I-10. I don't want to say Houston.
Right.
I was down there for 10 days after Hurricane Ike, and they paired us up with a Houston officer, and that was my first taste of why because we rode 12-hour days. We were down there assisting.
Mm-hmm.
We were already meeting together, I think.
I think so. I think I remember you going there.
So. Yeah, it was. I think that's right because we were out there. I remember.
Yeah.
I got up in the open meeting. I talked about
Mm-hmm.
A little bit about that. So anyway, folks are different as far as I'd walk. If someone gives me eye contact, especially if I'm in uniform, hello, how you doing? And, I'll never forget. It was a couple guys sitting there. And I said, how you doing, sir? And just like waving at. And I said, well, I didn't think nothing of it. And my partner says, yeah, they just don't like, you know how people are. They just don't like cops. I don't know, because I know down here, I mean, I got used to, when I worked, the overnight shift, when I worked dog watch, that's the overnight shift, they weren't so happy to see us, because most people were intoxicated in those hours of the night, we dealt with. But then I went to the day shift, daylight, and, for the most part, they liked the officers. How you doing, officer? And then this weird thing came up. I think we probably talked about it last time. I said, thank you for your service. I was just hard for me to swallow. I said, hey, I'm getting paid pretty good to drive around this car and bug you, harass you.
That gets people upset at me because I don't like that either. I don't like all the lawn signs. We support the blue. Mm-hmm. Thank you for your service. I just don't like it. I think that policemen are doing a job they chose, and they're being paid, I think, pretty well. Yeah. And they have the freedom to negotiate higher wages. Yeah. They're not, they have a union and all that. No one appreciates my service every time they sit on a toilet. They should appreciate my service. I think I save more lives than the police.
Certainly more embarrassment. What would we do without these partitions?
If you ever want to appreciate my job, go to Mexico and use a public bathroom. Where they got like a piece of cardboard sitting on the ground, just sort of between the toilets. You can look right over top of them. I don't even know what it's there for.
Yeah. Is this what this material is?
Yeah, exactly what it is. Recycled too.
Yeah.
Right out of an elementary school.
Right out of a high school there for you. Stadium.
For all the carvings.
Yeah.
John loves
You thought that was from my previous guess, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just worried about that too.
But what I mean about San Antonio is one thing I see about the SAPD particularly is they don't seem like ticket happy. They don't seem... I hardly ever get what I think is being harassed by them. I do in other towns because I drive a white van. They call it what do they call those vans?
The raper van?
The raper van or the kidnap vans. Yeah, that's what they call them.
Really?
Those panel vans, the white panel vans we use for work.
Yeah,
they call them. I get stopped all the time in these small
the graveyard that you have outside of vans?
Yeah, my graveyard of kidnap vans with all my victims inside. Yeah, I get stopped in little towns all the time.
Really?
For dumb stuff, like your tire went on the line, on the yellow line. Your tire went on the yellow line.
Chicken feathers, yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. And that's just because they see the van, they want to look inside there. They want to see what's going on. Yeah. And it just annoys me. I got stopped down here in Karnes City by the Karnes City Sheriff. I was actually working in their new department, their new office they built, their new jail.
Really?
I was working there when I was leaving there to come home. We were two of us there, two of my vans, my workers and me. And they stopped them because they ran their plate and it came up to my name and somebody has my same name with a warrant.
Oh, wow.
I didn't have a warrant, but somebody with my name had a warrant.
It didn't work. I figured I just...
How do you know you don't have a warrant? Albert says, I've been swearing them out since we met. Every week I swear out a warrant, APB.
Yeah, Judge is getting tired of me. I promise you, this one's legit. Can you just sign it?
Put shoot to kill. Armed and dangerous, shoot on sight. Wow. Yeah, so he pulled them over, and they said, well, there's a warrant for a Mike Jackson, and they're like, and then they had left before me, and then I passed him, and those guys, they're like, that's him right there. So they come after me and pulled me over.
Wow.
He wanted to run my thing. And I told him, I said, well, what right do you have to stop me? Just because you ran my plate and then my plate comes back to a name and the name, which is a common name, has a warrant on it. Not this car, not that license plate, just my name.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah,
two words have a warrant on them. Is that legal?
Well, at the with SAPD, there's also department policies, but there's that was not basis enough to make a stop. You run a plate and it's got traffic tickets on it. Yeah, you can't just okay. So let's just say okay, well, it's whatever Jane Smith. It's a guy driving it. You can't. You say, well, how do you justify it?
Yeah, well, like the first one they pulled over wasn't even me.
Right.
The first van was my employees.
I gotcha.
And they pulled them over. And then they said that was Mike Jackson driving in the next van that they didn't even run the plate, and they chased me down.
Yeah, no, they can't just stop based on a name. You just say, hey, just because you have the same name. No, we can't do that.
Well, I told the cop that he couldn't do it. And then the next day I called the sheriff, talked to him, and he made me talk to put me to talk to the city attorney. I told him if they stop me anymore there, I'm going to sue him.
Really? He sent you that?
I was upset because I was driving that every day because we were working in their jailhouse.
Right. Yeah.
And if they're going to be running the plate and stopping me every time because my name matches something.
Yeah, it's just like.
It's not even someone they're looking for. It's someone in some system somewhere. It comes back.
Well, if it's a felony warrant
But wouldn't it have to be a felony warrant to that license plate?
Well, actually, let me back up a little bit. That's not going to be felony warrants on plate. It's just been so long since you're not going to have traffic. The only time they attack. Well, okay, so in the city. Again, I've never worked patrol for Bexar County, but you don't find name or vehicles attached to those kind of warrants. It's just traffic violations. So I can correct myself. So if it was, let's just say you were a burglar, and just because they run that plate or they have some information, hey, I have a warrant list and I have that name and it matches that. No, you can't do that. That's not a reason to stop.
Oh, I quit getting stopped after that. They didn't stop me anymore.
Yeah. Now, if like I said, what I was thinking when I said you run a plate and it's got, because Jane Doe on there, but you got a male driving it, you still can't make that stop. Based on that alone, the policy was you can't. Let's say, oh, this car's is shown to have, warrants, 6 active warrants, whatever. You can't stop based on that alone. You have to have other reasons because it could be anybody driving that vehicle, even if it is a female that matches the description, and that's it's happened before. I'm guilty of it.
Yeah. I think that the SAPD, going back to what I was saying, I think the SAPD has a pretty good, at least up to now maybe, has had a pretty good reputation with the community. Yeah. More than I see maybe in other places.
Yeah, it's had its little, hiccups here and there. But I used to tell people that. I said, man, San Antonio, we have a good deal here. After being down in Houston for those few days, it didn't take me very long to figure it out. I was there a couple of days, and it's different. They even act different over there. It's them, and it's us, and it didn't have anything to do with color.
It's blue and non-blue.
Yeah, and those are and they hung around in cliques, and I didn't hang around long enough to go to any of their parties or anything like that because we were working 12-hour days, and the rest of the time we were sleeping. It was just that exhausting. But but you got a sense of that all their friends were involved in some type of law enforcement for the most part. I have a couple of buddies that are police officers. I have some new friends now with the sheriff's office, but for the most part, I come home and I'm,
You're off duty.
I'm off. Yeah, I want to be off. I like my, I know some guys that they want to stay at work or they want to run and gun and yeah, I like being with my wife. Yeah. You hear that, Jackie? If she's even listening.
Yeah, she's not.
Yeah, probably not. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, we do create our own little bubble, but I don't think I think the community cares enough about us, and we do return that. Like I said, there's going to be bad guys or bad cops wherever you go.
I'll tell you where I think SAPD, at least in my appreciation, have done poorly, and that I have noticed, and it's not just SAPD. I see this also a lot with DPS because I'm traveling now a lot to Austin, so I see a lot of I see some DPS and stuff. So, like for instance, we were going to Austin just recently. Talk about DPS. We were going to Austin just recently. And a truck, like a dump truck, was it, Nolan, that lost all that dirt on the road?
Yeah.
Or like it was like lost.
It was a mud. It was like where they pick up mud from like somewhere. I don't know, but it was mud.
It was mud. So the truck lost its load. It was all over the freeway, the 35 going north.
Well, it wasn't 35, but it was a highway, a major highway.
It wasn't on.
It was.
It was already in
71,
Austin.
yeah.
So was it Austin PD?
It would have probably been Austin PD.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
so it wasn't DPS. Anyways, they lost. It was mud, and well, as soon as you hit that with your car, it's like, you're on the highway.
You're going 70 miles an hour on mud. That ain't gonna go well.
Yeah, and so the police cars are all there, but they're up past the mud, up where the truck is,
Talking
just
to the
talking,
driver.
Yeah.
and no one's back, slowing people down way back so that they don't pile up and have more wrecks.
Should have dropped a row of flares or something to at least give some warning.
I remember. Do you remember I sent you a picture of a similar situation a long time ago on 410 here in town, where a beer truck had lost its load on 410? I was on 410. We were going to SeaWorld to work in the evening. I was working at SeaWorld, and right up on 410, a beer truck had lost all its beer. Didn't look like there were any vehicles. No one was hurt, as far as I can tell. It wasn't flipped over or anything. It's like they didn't close the doors or something, and all the beer fell out, and so it's all over. The bottles are all over the freeway, right? So everyone's having to exit. Well, the police are all up there leaning on I sent you a picture of that.
I think I remember.
You remember that?
Yeah, I think
they're
I do
all up
remember
there, and they're just sitting there right next to the beer truck, way up there, and leaning on their cars talking. And not one of them is back there where all the traffic is jammed up. Nobody knows what's going on. You can't see it from where it starts jamming up. I mean, 410 jams up real fast, and everyone's having to get off and exit on one exit, and there's 4 lanes trying to exit into one exit, and not one policeman is back there directing traffic at all.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah. Now, if that was Bear County, we'd be totally different.
Totally different.
We'd be on it.
Good job, Albert. Good job. I like that.
We don't mess around like that.
But I mean, why does that happen? Because I see that happen more often than I see that in traffic accidents, traffic situations. Yeah. If there's an accident on 35 and the police aren't there, there's no problem. Traffic flows, no problem. Soon as the police get there, it's just a mess.
Yeah, so I think for the most part is they want to shut down, make everything safe.
Mm-hmm.
And not that it wasn't safe before, but you're gonna.
No, it wasn't safe. Yeah. Everyone's still going 80.
Yeah. and that's just it. Is to prevent. Remember, I was telling you about the preventing more work.
Yeah.
So I'd go visit my little bad guys. So they see me, maybe they plant a seed, don't do anything. This guy's one of those cops that doesn't, go away. So by having the street blocked off, the police presence, it's going to slow everybody down. And of course, you have to get funneled off into the, to the exit, and it's going to cause, the jam from there. But to have somebody, maybe right there saying, you go, that would help. Having somebody.
Yeah.
It's just bad. Maybe the supervisor's not on site or something. Because I'm sure if there was a supervisor out there, he said, hey, go out there and get these people flowing, get it moving. But you got 4 equals out there. Usually you can say, hey, this is your call. You should be out there. Handle it. If you've got an older officer that can talk to him. But patrolmen, no matter how long you've been on,
there's no seniority, official seniority things.
Yeah, so a senior officer is not going to have any authority over another patrolman. It's patrolman, patrolman, and you're all equal. So nobody is going to say anything, and then the conversation gets good, or whatever. They're out there just waiting for the record driver to come to clean up people, whatever. Because the company has to, I believe they're the ones that are going to come out and probably clean up most of that junk. On big spills, they may have, their own or some kind of hazmat folks come out. But as far as why, I think that's just an individual or group of individuals decide that it's easier just to do this than go let them fend for themselves. And that sucks. Yeah, I can see that.
I think that I think that it seems to me that there is a real perhaps even an over concern now that there be complete safety in those situations. So they'll have a fender bender on the left lane of 35, and they'll close off 2 or 3 lanes sometimes. They'll close all the way off.
Yeah, I've seen the fire trucks.
Yeah, fire trucks and police all. And it.
Let's throw them under.
I think they just need to pass a law or have. I think they ought to have like a snow piercer type vehicle, and if you don't move your vehicle, it just bounces you right off into the median. Just, no.
Yeah, probably.
You could even drive it.
Yeah, no.
It's like, no, nobody gets to stop capitalism. Yes. Whoever, you either drive it out of the way or we'll move it. No. But it seems like they want to, do all the safety stuff, but it just annoys me to no end that they won't then put a few resources back there and get the traffic flowing. Because if they would go back and start, telling people, most drivers, at least in this area, I don't have a problem with people letting us in. Everyone gets in. But when you don't know until the last minute and then you're all trying to get 4 lanes into one, it's just a disaster.
And then you're going to have those folks that just refuse, and you'll see them squeeze up. So
Yeah.
They don't have to. And I just think that's so ridiculous.
That's the nice thing about driving what I drive. That doesn't. And I've been in Mexico. I drove in Mexico, so I laugh at those people.
So yeah,
I'm coming in.
so I get I drive the F550, and to this day I'm going to say that the horse trailer is longer than your flatbed that you have parked out in the front there. Yeah, I have to plan way ahead for I don't know how many exits I've missed just because of one car. So what do you got? You got a fully marked unit. I'm not going to pass this guy. And I got my blinker on and said, pass me, please, pass me. And I have to miss the exit because I didn't plan 5 miles down the road, Well, not that far. But, and it's just really hard to, you just have, bad drivers yesterday on the way home. I want to get home. So I'm toting along, and I really stay off my phone because this truck doesn't stop like a little car does.
Yeah.
And right at so it's 35 south where it peels off 10 going this way or Highway 90, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And so everybody's doing this, and I know those poor horses back there. they were really squished together because I know when I got back because we have the front part of the front part of the trailers, all our saddles. Yeah, they were all on the ground. Everything was.
You had to hit the brakes pretty hard.
Oh my goodness, I was probably within 10 feet of that car in front of me. And I just didn't understand because there was like 8 or 10 cars, and in front of them was nothing. The exit was wide open. There was no cars. So whatever reason caused them to stop, it just bottlenecked, and it's just causing and. So just drivers are like that, nobody wants to give, and they finally force their way in, and then it causes a little ripple effect, and everybody behind them is end up. Back to what you're saying. Yeah, officers are just, we're our own worst enemy, and I think that we do things that look really bad, because we set it up. We set up the thing and fend for yourself, and I think a lot of times when we think we're okay, it does look bad, obviously.
Well, I think so. I think there's things like that make people. At least me, I'm just me and people that, I talk to, people that, my circles. I look at that and I think, there's some pretty small things that these police departments could do that would get them, earn them a lot of brownie points with people. Like that, like not making the road problems worse.
Oh,
To me, they just make them worse.
yeah.
I know that I know that they have to block off lanes, and they can't have someone getting sideswiped by some crazy driver, and they got those things to do. But they could do it in a way that wasn't so chaotic or so catastrophic to traffic, and
Right.
and they just, I have never seen them do it in the years I've been here now.
See, I don't think it's all a lot of the times isn't always all the cops. So, like, say a wreck is on 35 and you're coming south and the wreck is on the northbound. The southbound is as stopped as the
That
wreck
is
stop.
true.
Yeah, 'cause everybody wants to see you.
Yeah,
I know that's what
and,
it is.
You know, as soon as the wreck stop, it's like clear roads. You can go 70 miles an hour, but right before you can't hardly move. I mean, there was a wreck, and I think a whole 18-wheeler caught on fire. Pretty sure somebody got burned up because it smelled nasty. I don't know if that was like human flesh or not. It was nasty. Well, the whole traffic on 35 was horrible for like 10 miles.
Right.
It wasn't even. I thought it was on our side, and it wasn't.
It was on the other
It was
side.
on the other side.
But don't you think there's a difference between the rubbernecking and the speed that traffic goes, and when they're pushing everyone off into one lane at the last possible moment?
Yeah.
I think that the traffic's different. And even if it weren't, to me, it's the optics of the thing. When I get up there to the wreck and there's four police cars and 2 fire engines, and they're all just standing there, it's not like they're pulling some burnt body out of a car. They're just standing there. It's all, when I get there, it's like done. And not one of those or 2 of those units are down the road and directing some, even if they can't really do anything. It's just optics.
Well, see,
That you get there and you say, hey, these guys are trying to make this go better.
Well, see, I get it like in the beginning. You know, you got all this commotion, you got cars all strewn, parts everywhere, right? But then by the time, you know, that gets cleaned up within like the first 20 minutes. And then there's just one car left sitting there on the shoulder of the road, and you still got 4 fireman trucks blocking all 5 lanes, making everybody exit when they could have opened all but one.
Especially if they had that thing I'm saying,
Yeah,
right? Where it just knocks that car. Just boom!
Make sure you can knock the fire trucks out of the way, too. Might as well. Make it big enough.
It's a big plow, a big snow plow going down through there.
Yeah, you know, having those officers there could have, because people, like I said, they don't want to share the lane. They get, you know, what's that they call it, road rage or whatever you want to call it. And I don't know what it is. I said, you know, you get in front of me, you're gonna beat me to where.
Everyone thinks they're in a race.
Yeah.
They think they're actually going to get beat to go somewhere. Like there's a race, and they think they're all in a buffet line that doesn't have all you can eat.
Oh, hold on.
I knew you could associate. I knew you could identify with that
hold on.
metaphor.
Yeah, let's think this out.
Well, okay, so you have folks doing that, and then you have other folks trying to force their way in, and so that's causing the problem. So if you had an officer there, you know, 1, 2, 3, okay, 1, 2, 3, each lane.
Exactly.
That would work. That would actually get at least. It may not go any faster because at the end of that, you're going to have a traffic.
That's right. To me,
But-
it's the optics. You got the police there, and they are trying to help everybody. They're not just.
Yeah. And
Sitting at the
you can
wreck.
prevent things because I don't know how many times we've had this. You'd have a wreck here, and we got another one right down the road because everybody's trying to do that, and then they wreck. So again, trying to prevent. You know, obviously, you don't want anybody else to get hurt, have another accident, but you're making more work. And if it's not you that is going to end up having to handle another accident, it's another officer that gets pulled out of his neighborhood doing his patrol. To go get on the highway and have to start messing with wrecks. I didn't mind working the accidents in my neighborhoods. They usually weren't that bad. I mean, you know, we've had a few, but and those ones on the highway, you know, they're just a mess. I didn't like getting up there. I didn't like writing speeding tickets either on the highway because I don't know how many times I'd run late for work. I was speeding, so
It's getting where it doesn't seem like they're writing very many more here in San Antonio.
I don't know.
I have not really seen a lot of that anymore. I don't know if it's just the pandemic, because I don't know, like they quit writing tickets on my road during the pandemic.
Really?
Well, I heard that the whole China Grove Police Department shut down for that time.
Wow.
Like they didn't have anyone out there Because they only have, as far as I know, the only thing China Grove Police Department does is write tickets on that 1 mile of road they own on this highway.
They don't have regular.
I don't know. They're there writing tickets day and night, all day, all night on that little 1 mile of gold
And
they
they'll
own.
milk any situation. They'll write you for every little thing. Your license plate light out, write a cheap ticket for that too.
Elmendorf used to be like that.
Really?
Elmendorf PD. Well, those guys, they're usually reserve officers. I think the only one that makes money is the chief. I may be wrong, but excuse me. But they're officers that work out there, or they have their license and they want to keep it active, so they go and do so many hours per. And so what do you do? And I think my patrol district was the same size of that town, with probably
with a quarter or even less, a tenth.
The population, and so then they're bored, so they're gonna stop you. They're gonna make it worth their effort.
No, I think that's where China Grove is doing the revenue generating. See, that was the other thing that, I was saying there's some things I think they do. One of the things that I think that give policemen a bad name is when you have these, because when you have these small towns that have like 1 mile of freeway that they patrol, and they got some ridiculous speed limit on it, and then they're, ticketing everything they can.
65, 40.
Yeah.
65.
Well, on here it's 70 and 55.
Wow,
50. China Grove is 50.
50, 70.
It goes
50.
60, then it hits 50 at China Grove. And that one, it's exactly 1 mile that is actual China Grove on this highway. And that cop car just going back and forth, stopping.
That's
one.
I'm trying to picture China Grove a China Grove police car. I don't think I've ever seen it. I don't come down as much as y'all do.
Right.
You live out this way, but I do drive.
No, they're there. They're patrolling constantly.
Wow.
I don't see them very often anymore.
During the pandemic, they quit.
Yeah.
And like what I heard was that they had like just shut down for that time, basically. And now they're back again. But when I first moved out here, every time we drove by, there would be somebody getting a ticket on both sides of the road. And it was all day. It didn't matter what time of day or night you went. They were someone getting a ticket there.
You know who I always see on the way to church on Sundays is Windcrest. Those guys.
Yeah, and they got crazy speed limits. They're like 20 or 25 mile an hour speed limits.
But if I remember correctly, what is that? Westbound is theirs. Eastbound is.
That's right. It's like the line is in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Of Walsham.
Yeah, because I know that when I was going through my FTO program with I trained up in North, so one of the guys was friends with one of Windcrest PD at that time, and it was funny because they'd say, "Yeah, that's Windcrest is San Antonio."
Yeah, it is very odd, right down the center of that one road.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but see, what I was saying though about them is like you have a situation like that. Well, the average person, or even myself, I only see blue. I don't know that it's China Grove PD or Elmendorf PD or Windcrest PD. To me, it's just police. And to me, it's the police harassing, people who are just trying to go to work, not driving unsafe. They're coming off a 60 into a 50. It's out in the middle of nowhere. And it's like, this is a ridiculous speed limit. And sure, it's breaking the law. Fine, whatever. But as far as I'm concerned, here's what I think. I think if Texas would have come out and passed a law that says that all revenue collected on state highways goes to the state, there'd be a lot less of these little towns policing these as being so concerned, so pious about speed limits if they weren't actually able to collect any of the revenue.
Right. Yeah, I guess there probably would be.
I don't know that they'd be all so holy about the speed limit anymore if they weren't keeping the revenue. To me, it just puts the police in a position of being seen the way Jews looked at publicans. Mm. I don't think it's good for the police to be tax collectors.
Yeah. Revenue generators.
Yeah. I just don't think in my opinion, it's just not a good look for the police. I think it blemishes them. I think that's one of the problems that these police in these large cities have, like New York, that they're out there enforcing these stupid rules that you can't sell cigarettes, loosies they call them. You can't sell you can't buy. for whatever reason, you can't buy a pack of cigarettes, right, and then sell somebody one.
One. Oh wow. Oh,
That's illegal. Loosies, yeah, they call them
Really?
loosies. Remember that big guy that got choked out and died by the police in
yes,
New
yes,
York?
yes, yes.
That's what he was doing. He was selling loosies.
That's right.
And they're out there enforcing these economic laws. These are not. He wasn't selling heroin or narcotics or child pornography or even anything illegal at all. He's just selling cigarettes. And now they've decided they're going to protect the legislature in New York has decided, in other states as well, that they're going to protect the economic interests of the cigarette manufacturers. Cigarette manufacturers don't want their products sold loose or whatever. So they're protecting these economic interests. And they're using you would think so.
Yeah.
If I want to buy, and that's what I loved about Mexico, right? In Mexico, you could go to the store and buy one of anything you wanted.
1 square of toilet paper.
Yes.
That's all I need.
You could. They would sell you.
One.
They would open up a pack of toilet paper and tear off 1 square and sell it to you if you wanted that. I don't know what you're going to do with 1 square, but you could buy a square of toilet paper in Mexico. You could buy 1 stick. They would open up a pack of gum and sell you 1 stick of gum.
I don't think they do that anymore, though.
Some places probably don't.
Think they still do?
I think there's places that still do. All the little towns,
I guess so.
like where we used to live,
they
little
probably
ranchitos.
They do that with toilet paper for still. They'll give you.
They
they
wind
will,
off. You tell them how much, and they wind off.
Yeah, they'll do that. I've seen
Instead,
that
you don't
still.
buy a roll. You wind off like however much you say you need, and they hand it to you. You're like, you better give me a couple more. I feel it.
Run back in there.
Not quite enough. Yeah, so when you have police enforcing these type of rules, the state and the cities and the legislatures are putting, in my opinion, the police in a terrible situation.
Yeah.
Where they're enforcing rules that everyone thinks are bogus.
Well, I worked in an apartment complex. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, my manager that I worked for understood what we did. But she asked us to do a little extra duties that were not law enforcement. It was, hey, just check the lights. You know, you see any of those, you can write them down and get them to me, because you're going to be, doing
right.
That. But then we had a new manager come in, and he wanted me to, or me and the other guy, because there was 2 of us, to enforce house rules. And you can't do that. I enforce state law. What I would do is I'd be a real good snitch. I'd tell them, hey, I'm going to have to lock this gate. It's my responsibility. And pool's closed. Okay, I'm just letting y'all. I locked the gate. And they'd complain and they'd get furious. Also, because that fencing is wrought iron.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just climb wrought iron. It doesn't have to put your feet on. And it was a good 5, so the little kids can't get in there. So it's 5.5 foot. And so those people that went and complained are basically snitching on themselves. And I would tell the manager, say, hey, this, well, why didn't you make them leave? I said, I can't make people,
I can't make people do anything.
They're residents, they live here. Now, if they don't live there, I can give them I could speak for the management, give them a criminal trespass warning, and say, hey, you're going to have to go.
Mm-hmm.
Or make a
right.
work, get a case number, write a report. So I ever saw them again on the property, and they weren't invited, because if somebody invites them back to the property, well then that's criminal trespass. They'd have to be in that apartment though. They couldn't be in that area without their host, if you will.
Right.
And you could arrest them for criminal trespass.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of the same thing. You're doing these house rules. The states are coming up with these little piddly laws. Yeah, that's weird. I'd heard about that, but I kind of forgot about it. But yeah, I just can't see enforcing stuff like that.
Well, now you have, with the pandemic issues, you have now police being used to enforce health laws.
Yeah, where are they doing that at?
Well,
Is
I
there
know
any-
that just recently that one guy and that one Polish pastor in Toronto,
Yes.
who they arrested.
I saw the video.
Yeah, the first
telling them
video
to
came
leave.
out when he told them to leave. They came back, which
Yeah.
that's the thing. See, even though I don't like the police being used to enforce these kind of rules. I think the police, if I was like dictator of the world, or let's just say, well, let's be moderate, of the United States, would just be or the nation of Texas.
yeah, that's it.
Just
The country of Texas?
The country of Texas.
I'm
That's
good with
good.
that.
I could live with that. No, I mean, I think the police ought to be tasked with enforcing laws that are about public safety, as far as like people dying, property theft. They ought to be enforcing what we would call the Constitution, in a sense. There's the constitutional type crimes, which is theft of property, loss of life, loss of liberty, that kind of stuff. And all of these financial rules and all these things that are done for economic laws and health laws, as far as like whether you wear a mask, whether you're vaccinated, whether your kids are in school when they're supposed to be, all of that ought to be tasked to different agencies. I just think it's really bad that they've mixed these together, and you have people that have the power to take your life away, and you grant them that power to the police, because they have the power to shoot you and kill you. You grant them that power. The citizenry grants them that power with the idea that they're going to be engaging in police work that's serious. And then they're out here policing someone selling a cigarette.
Yeah.
It just, to me, it dilutes their mission and dilutes the respect that people will have for them.
Yeah. And so you have a trained officer out there that when things escalate, we escalate along with it. And so what do you have? You have, I'm going to, this guy's selling cigarettes. And yeah, we end up fighting, and someone loses their life over it, over
Over one cigarette.
right.
That he sold one instead of a pack.
Yeah, and there's two sides. Yeah, well, this guy should have known better than to fight, and he should have.
Absolutely.
But-
all of that, all caveats true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He should
But
have complied.
Yeah.
I'm not, absolutely.
But they're putting the cops in a situation where they eventually, because all punishment to crime is eventually death, right? Whether
Of course.
right. So if they put the cops in a situation where they will have to eventually maybe have to enforce that, which if he fights back for selling one little cigarette, then they
Well,
have
you're
to
gonna
fight
use-
him back.
Equal force. So I know those chokeholds are getting bad. It's something that, but I don't know if.
Well, the one problem is that people think that they're dealing with these machines that can be finely tuned to the exact amount of force necessary and no more. You're dealing with people, and you're wrestling and stretching, and I know that
Emotions
you
go
had
up, too.
I know we had an officer that came to our church for a while who had a tussle and ended up someone dying in it. I'm not going to say any names, but I don't know if you remember that, but I forget who told me that, he was fighting with a suspect, and the guy's, I think, trying to get his gun or whatever, and he's doing it, and all of a sudden he just snapped his neck.
Yeah. So what happens is that emotional, and then you
Like the adrenaline, you mean?
the emotions get in
Oh,
there too.
right.
You get, I'm not going to lose. I want to go home.
Yeah.
Adrenaline gets in there. I don't know why. I've been able pretty good to just come down real quick. I think probably might have said this last time, but I know Marco thinks I'm crazy because I'm you're in trouble. Hey, boy, where do you want to go eat? I just can't stay hung up on something, and it's like that with the work. I mean, I mentioned my other buddy. I've had to up and get down to back to bring your RPMs down because I never had problems because I just can't stay angry. I don't let it get under my skin like that. But there are some guys I've seen it, and they just they get upset, and I don't think it's just adrenaline. I think there's emotions involved in there, maybe upbringing or whatever. My mom was one of those that if she did get angry, I mean, it was nothing for her to. Because some moms are gonna whip you. You did this. You're gonna go to your room for a month. You're not gonna eat. It wasn't like that. But mom, she liked to lecture, but man, we got our whippings, and then it was over with, and just move on to the next segment of your life. But I think officers, they get. I don't know if it's. Can't speak for everybody, but I just have seen that where they get angry. I don't get angry. I've dusted guys off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's over with. Let's just. I've seen guys do it, well, I've heard the stories because I've never done it, but like a pancake face, did I tell you that last time?
I haven't heard that term.
So they're upset at the prisoner. He's not seatbelted in. You're on the way to jail.
Oh, yeah. So they'll brake check him up
Like a
against
waffle
the
face, 'cause
Yeah.
it's a little, whatever you had. Whatever it was, he had the glass with it. Why are you going to do that? I've been upset. God, man, now I gotta write an extra paragraph. Maybe that make me upset having to do more work. It's not that I'm lazy. It's just that there's no reason for certain things. And if you can prevent it, why not? And I'm like that at my office now. I like to just smooth. I know it was a weird transition coming from the outside into a position that I'm in, and maybe there's some folks that don't like me. I don't know. I just talk to everybody, whether they want to talk to me or not. I'm going to be the nicest person I can be, even if I've heard things. I have. Oh, you're the boy. You come in. And I think a lot of times, coming from another agency, getting a nice little gig, taking a spot.
Sure, there's always going to be that in any job. It doesn't matter what job you're in.
But
I get that I get people in my company get upset when I hire someone new that comes in. They feel like they took some spot they thought they had. We're doing toilet partitions. I don't know what they're upset about. It's like, what do you care who takes your spot?
You
Is
should
that
be
so?
disappointed with your life no matter what.
Yeah. If you're in my line of business, you already are disappointed.
Well, I think maybe the only lower that would be the guys that actually do the septic tanks.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. I've seen that. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's real crappy work, Albert.
Yeah. But yeah, the emotions seem to. I've seen him hang on to that stuff. First chance I get, I see him again. You're like, really? This is.
Yeah.
You're gonna find us now. If he did something that maybe hurt an officer, yeah, you want to go get. I don't know. When I say get him, I just meant, get him in custody. I don't mean to, go out and just beat him up and leave him on the side of the road. That's not what I meant. But
do you think that's the predominant view of the officers you've dealt with personally, the ones you've worked with, yours of let's just get the job done, minimum force necessary?
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's.
There are the bad guys are the customers.
Yeah.
Customers never right on this job.
Yeah.
Customers always wrong.
I don't think there's somebody out there headhunting, just looking to go after a certain guy. But at the end of the day, it's the main thing is to go home, and live to do another 8 hours and get through that day. That's what's different from what I did on street cop work compared to what I do now. Is that my clients, my victims are it's a constant, and there's never, because there's always a chance that person is going to come back. You think, case has been disposed of. They've already gone to trial. We got the dude. He got 2 years. He got probation or whatever. But it just seems like that's a revolving door.
Yeah.
My victims now with the same kind of guy, just another guy.
They don't know how to do anything else.
Yeah, and that gets old after a while.
Those people, not everybody, obviously, but many people that are in abusive situations,
tend to
will seek them out. And this isn't just stereotypical.
Yeah.
The stereotype is that a girl with an abusive father will end up with an abusive husband or boyfriend. Yeah. That's the stereotype. But the actual studies prove that to be true. They've actually done scientific studies that show that's not a stereotype. That's actually reality. Yeah. That the majority of people that grow up in an environment like that will seek it out again.
I saw something really unusual one day when I was with the city. Lady comes in, she's got a little boy, younger, and a little girl. Couldn't have been a year older than him. Maybe a little older. Anyway, so The little girl was trying to sit him down, and he punches her square in the nose. And she was there for family violence issues. And she starts crying, and she actually blames the little girl. Well, you should have left him alone. No, she was trying to sit him down. He was misbehaving. And I thought, wow, that's not, she's allowing her daughter to get hit. She's getting in trouble for getting hit because she did something wrong. In her relationship, I don't remember I actually don't even remember the mama's deal, but I'm thinking that her batterer or abuser is probably everything she does. It's her fault.
Yeah, she's the grown up version of what those little kids are playing out.
And it's being passed on.
Yeah,
it breeds itself for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
And yeah, so but
because that's common, isn't amongst abuse victims to blame themselves that they're the ones. I made him angry. Yeah. I didn't have dinner right. Yeah. It's my fault. It's really my fault.
He wouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Now, that's why he did this because, and that's very common.
Yeah.
So, I was just thinking, the going back to the emotion thing. I think it's the same. Officers just don't. Not all, because like I said, I say that, and I have heard some guys just to hang on to things, but I think we want to go home at the end of the day, and it doesn't stay with you unless it's something where,
Is there a difference between a younger class, let's say, and ones that officers who've been there a lot longer? Does that tend to?
So I think that all
tend to start looking at more as the job instead of like the mission.
The rookies and the veterans.
Yeah, so I think through all cop history, you don't know, because the guys before us said, you didn't have this instructor there. There was a legend. It was there. There was two guys with SAPD, and these would actually break arms and hurt cadets. And we were like one of the first classes not to have one, and we still had the other old guy. I don't want to say any names, but and they were those kind of. Man, they just, wow. But then the next class, you didn't have those instructors. So, but there was one that just retired a couple of years ago, and he was pretty bad in his, as far as, I was afraid of him. I'm still afraid of him. he's 60 years old, huh? 60 plus years old, and I guarantee there's not too many people stand toe to toe with this guy. But, it's always been, you guys are not trained like we are, and so on and so forth. And, your academy class is not the same. So I remember when we'd have to get out of the way of officers, sir, yes, sir, and good morning, sir. No, all this standing. If they walk down the hall, you had to get out of the way, and they kind of got away from that. And now the hair's longer. You don't have this high and tight. Now that's I hadn't seen any cadets lately because I'm not in that department anymore, but the last few years I was thinking. And that doesn't look like a haircut I just had one when I had number 2 cut, and I cut it myself, it's cheaper that way, but everybody had not necessarily a military haircut, but your hair was short.
But it was not over your ears and over your collar.
Yeah. And it seemed like towards, like I said, the last few years, you'd see these, the cadets would ride, and you're like, that's not really a haircut that I thought would normally see on a cadet.
Well, one problem is they're hurting for inductees, aren't they? They're hurting for manpower, aren't they? So they're having to loosen a lot of these requirements just to get people in there.
Yeah, there was something someplace. I think it was they said we don't lower our standards for anybody, and I think that's no longer true. I think just with the media beating up policemen, or the profession, that it's getting a little harder and harder to get people to want to do that job.
Well, that's the vicious cycle that I think plays out. Like you can see it play if you want to see how far that goes. If you keep running that, if you keep playing that game, if you want to see how far it goes, you go to somewhere like Mexico and see where the police are universally disrespected, hated. I mean, it's close. If you want to know how Jews looked at publicans in the Bible, where they talk about publicans being these terrible people, and you want to understand how they felt, you go to Mexico and see how they feel about police. They just despise them. Everybody does. Nobody has any respect for them. And because of that, nobody wants to be a police. It's like the worst thing you could come home and tell your parents that you're going to be a policeman. You'd be better off telling them you're going to be a prostitute or a gigolo almost than to come home and say, "Hey, I'm gonna join the police force." It's just universally despised and disrespected.
Yeah, I ran across a.
You're better off to be a mobster. What do they call them? The cabal. You're better off being a cartel member. They have more respect than the police.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. What term for they revere? Is that?
Oh yeah, they revere them.
Yeah, they just.
Where the police are just despised by everybody, and because of that, nobody wants to be a policeman. So you only get the people who are already hated by everybody, and like the outcasts, right? The untouchables of society become the policemen often, which then makes them more hated by everybody. It just goes and just devolves itself.
It's real funny. In the churches, one of the church Ana's parents' church in Mexico, they get more worried when a cop comes and shows up to their church than when the cartel of that neighborhood goes and sits down with them. They actually prefer the cartel to go sit down with them because at least they know they're safe. Because the cartel doesn't hurt their own people in their neighborhood. But when a cop comes, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I had an experience with. They were obviously from Mexico, just because of the. At the end, I didn't know they were from. They could have been from any Spanish-speaking country, but real fair skin. Had some money, you could tell. I was at La Cantera working part time. Remember, I used to do a lot of that part time stuff. I was still with SAPD. The lady stops and she's telling me in Spanish. She's calling me officer. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Can I help you? I'm thinking, she's going to ask me where's Dillard's or whatever. I need these. She just sets them in front of me. She had 2 bags, and her husband was on the phone. I think he might have had a bag or 2 in his hand, but she hands me like 2, or she sets them down and goes, "I need these taken to my car." And I'm looking at her. I said, "Well, that's not what I do." And I said, "I'm not going to take your bag to the car." She got upset with me. And I said, and I pointed. The guy was standing. He kind of wandered off. The lady was doing all the talking. The man's on his phone. And I said, "He looks healthy enough to carry your bags." I got a little smart with her. And I said, "I'm not going to do it. Maybe you should have your guy do it." I said, "I'm not doing it." She went and got the director of security, because I worked it was a security company, and they come and pulled me and said, "Hey, what did you tell this lady?" Getting after me. I said, "Man, she wanted me to do her, it's not that if she had asked me nicely, I probably would have taken the darn things for her and her husband." But, yeah, it's just that attitude. I was like, who are these people? Well, that's when I found out, well, they're from Mexico. I guess the guy had talked to them enough to find out that little bit of info. And he's got some. The director had some lineage to Mexico, some family or something. He goes, "Yeah, they just don't think very much of cops down there." Just
not at all. And anyone working security is even lower than a cop. That's like the cop rejects. They're the ones working security in like malls and things, and they're making they're mall cops, but they're making almost. In fact, some places they don't pay them. All they get are the tips that people give them for hauling their stuff to the car. They probably would have tipped you. Probably would have tipped you. See, I got a tip for you, Albert. I'll give you a tip.
Yeah. So,
but going back to what I was saying, that pastor, he kicks them out in that video, right? And that video, he tells them to get out of there, and they leave because they don't have a warrant, and they're there without, they're there enforcing health rules. Well, then they come back with. That's what people don't realize. I mean, everyone's cheering them on. When I saw a video, I'm like, oh, my goodness. That's not going to end well. Because the police, no matter how much I don't agree with whatever law they're enforcing, the police can't just walk away. You can't say, get out of here and never come back, and they're going to, and leave and never come back. The whole city would devolve into anarchy. I mean, everybody would start doing that. They're not going to let that go, right? They're not going to let that slide. Well, they're going to come back with legal.
Yeah, they're going to come back with a warrant.
They're going to come back with a warrant, and they're going to arrest you, and you're going to be in handcuffs. And it's like, what are you doing?
I think there's some cities here in the United States suffering from, getting rid of their or lower
defunding them.
Yeah, I think there's.
Yeah, well, most of these have turned out to be complete scams. These defunding programs, they defund them and then they refund them in other ways. It's politicians giving what these people are crying for on the front end, and then redoing it on finding different ways. They're just they're just channeling the money, many of them in different ways.
Yeah.
And nothing's changing at all. But they get to go out then and tell the voters, we defunded them, we fulfilled our promise. And when you look at the books, technically that's true. But then when you look at the bottom line, they didn't really do anything at all. Like that just came out. I just read a report that what's their names? AOC and all of these ones. They had a federal bill that was part of the defund the police initiatives.
Yeah.
And they had a federal bill where federal funds were going to be defunded. And they were out there, AOC and all these other leftist legislators are all campaigning for it, saying, yeah, we want that bill. Let's pass the bill. When it came up for vote, they vote present. They just did it. They vote present, the same ones.
Really?
Yes, because they can't go to their constituents that are overridden with crime and say, we defunded your police. So then they can go back, they get to play it on both ends. They get to go to all their leftist, supporters and say, we campaigned for that bill. And then they go to their actual constituents who are dealing with crime and say, oh, we didn't vote in favor of that bill.
Yeah. I heard a lot of that. We're not going to do this. We are going to, just depending on where you're at. And,
a politician is someone who has two faces.
Yeah, you need at least that many.
Yeah. But the problem I see with policing and the whole pandemic thing, going back to what we're talking about, is, police are now being called upon to enforce rules like, for instance, going in and shutting down churches because they're not abiding by. That's what happened with John MacArthur, right? The LA County Health Department wanted to shut him down, and the LA County Sheriff said, we're not enforcing health rules. Yeah. Well, as soon as the legislature makes it a crime, then they are enforcing it.
Yeah.
So then what are they going to do? And what do you do as a policeman in those? What do you do if you get an order to go stop someone from street preaching?
Yeah, it's going to be
I mean, if it's me, obviously you shoot to kill, but...
No. Never shoot to kill.
Never.
Remember, I always aim for the leg. We still need our preacher. Just like to see him walk around in a cane, a little cane.
We just don't want him running so fast.
Yeah. You asking me personally?
Yeah, you personally.
Yeah, I'd probably find a new job. If it gets to that point where you're going to say, you're going to have to stop these folks from whatever it is, not just because it's personal, because I'm a Christian and and I believe the gospel needs to be preached. And if you tell me, hey, these people are out there, they're not causing a riot, they're having an actual peaceful protest, and you tell me you need to shut them down, I can't do that. That's your, that saying, it's your God-given right to speak. You should be allowed to speak. So we have that here in the United States. Freedom of speech, and I just can't. You would think that that's not far off, but there's a lot of things going on where you.
No, that's actually happening right now.
Yeah, you can't.
I think there's a lot of policemen right now being confronted with that choice, not just on like you say, on things that hit home for us, which would be evangelical Christian practices, but just Muslim or Jewish or whatever. At the same time, I don't agree with these synagogues and churches that think that they have some right to have a church meeting in a national health crisis, and that somehow that the state is being unreasonable by saying we're not going to have. Now, unless they're being targeted. Yeah. See, unless the only people that are not allowed to have a public meeting are Jews or Muslims or Christians, if they're the only ones, well, then that's targeting, right? And that to me would be that would be wrong. But if you can't if basketball has to be played in a bubble, if football has to have cardboard cutout fans in the stands because it can't have actual stands, everybody is under the same rules. I don't see how that's wrong. And then people cheering churches holding meetings against the law because somehow they're worshiping God, the same religion that has made that has made bones for 2,000 years that we don't need buildings and we don't need this and God's in every one of us. And all of a sudden, if you don't have a meeting with 3,000 people in one room singing and spitting on each other, somehow you're taking away God from society. I see both sides of this. I don't envy the police officers caught in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so you brought up a good point. I guess if it's a law, I don't know if I just resign right there on the spot, but it would be something that I'd take into consideration. Saying, hey, we need y'all to get in uniform, and we're gonna go shut down whatever free speech thing is going on. If it's violent, if it's doing, certainly we're gonna do what we're gonna do, or I'm gonna do what I'm told as far as trying to keep the peace, because that's a part of our title, right? The peacekeepers and or peace officers. But if someone's just out there preaching, and like right now, if something came up with us, hey, from now on we're just going to target this particular group of folks. That's going to be real hard. It would just have to be something that's just inciting violence or a riotous type of actions that because you can be charged with inciting to riot. But
sure.
As far as that would to answer the question, I'd have.
It's difficult, right?
Yeah, I would do what I had to do at that moment, so long as it was the law, and that just, hey, the city council came up with this new ordinance, or they're thinking about doing it, and we're just going to target them, or they define it in their own way, saying, hey, this is against health rules. But there's no actual law saying we have to stop these folks. I couldn't do it.
I don't have a difficulty as a pastor with churches that have decided we're going to have meetings and we don't care what the law is. We're just going to have meetings. Okay, fine. But they should be willing to take the consequences. Yeah. We used to do this in Mexico. They would come out and say, if you preach here, we're going to arrest you. Fair enough. And so I would preach there. And if they arrested me, I didn't cry about it. I didn't say, well, I'm a martyr. They told me, right, if you preach here, we're going to arrest you. I decide, you know what? I think that the people here need to hear the gospel. And if that means I get arrested, so be it. But then I can't sit there and whine and cry that I'm this martyr because
you knew.
I knew, right? And I weighed the consequences and I decided that was the course I wanted to take. To me, that's what these churches are doing. So a church wants to say, we're going to hold meetings. We're going to have everybody in the room. We're not going to wear masks and all of these things. Whether I agree with all these points or not, doesn't point. The point is, you got rules, you have laws that say that that's not allowed right now. A church says, we're going to do it anyways. Now, I would. Personally, as a pastor, I would hold the meetings anyways. And anyone who wants to come can come, and we'll bear the consequences that come with that, right? But I'm not going to allow anyone to then say, oh, they're persecuting Freeborn Church for their faith. No, they're not. They're enforcing rules that we decided that these rules are not congruous with God's rules. And we decided this is something that we think we ought to do. And we realize that it's against man's rules, but we think we're for with God's rules, meaning we're willing to bear the consequences from the police and from the legislation and from the judicial because we think we're serving God. If that were the choice we were to make. Well, the problem I see is that you got all these people on social media who want to wax eloquent that these people that are breaking these rules are somehow these, persecuted groups. And I just don't see that. They're not being persecuted. They're enforcing the same rules on them that they do on the restaurant that wants to open up in that way. I mean, they shut them down. They lock up their doors. They haul them off in handcuffs if they resist. What are they? Is this against the religion of food? Is that your religion, by the way? I'm so curious. Are you the Pope of that religion?
I don't want to call it a religion. Then I'd be a radical. I guess I can see where where people could. They want to make a hero out of themselves, and just because they want to make make a point, but like you said, you knew it going into it, and there's an old saying, and I'm sure you've heard of it: "Don't do the crime, you can't do the time." And I think if you're going to cry about it because you've been told don't do this, and you still do it, you go to jail.
I think one of the legitimate fears that some of these Christians have is that it's opening a door to people, to the state, then selectively enforcing. It's like, I think some Christians honestly believe that this is an opportunity that the state is taking to start this censorship of Christians, even though they're doing it to everybody. They're doing it to NBA, NFL, NH. Everybody's getting quote unquote censored. They're getting shut down, saying they can't have their large gatherings.
You don't
right?
think so?
Huh?
You don't think that there's a
No.
So
I don't.
I don't want to say who this is, but I was told, given some funny information. We're just talking about it, and he says that his company may require them to wear something that, on their name tag, vaccinated or not vaccinated, and it's going to indicate. I mean, how 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that was, you're out of your mind, and now that's doable. So I'm just saying,
I don't think that was ever I don't think that was ever. I don't think that ever that was an issue that wouldn't be. This isn't like saying I'm Jewish or not Jewish, or like wearing a yellow star of David like in Germany.
Well, I'm just talking about how the slow progression of of just taking control.
Yeah, but that's a private company. They have no more control over you being willing to not work there. If a private company says, we want you to wear a name tag, how is that any different than wearing a name tag itself? We want to know your name. We want you to have your name written on there. Yeah. And we want to know that what division, what segment of the building you're allowed to be in. So it says right there, you're in Division A. And so when you're over wandering around in Division B, we see that and go, oh, you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah. Well, I understand.
It's the same type of rule.
Okay, so to be vaccinated, that's my personal, or to be not vaccinated is my, there are laws, the HIPAA laws that says, hey, that's none of anybody's business but my own. So now.
No, that's true. Now, that's a good point.
The companies, I'm not saying there's several, but for sure I know of one that is contemplating doing this so that you're going to be forced to wear a mask if you don't, if you're not vaccinated. And if right now they don't have a leg to stand on, but at some point.
Well, in order for.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I see what you're saying. It's a good point you make that there's a conflict between the private sector wanting to have, so the private sector, they want to limit their liability, their exposure, right? So here's the problem. People say, why are these private companies making people vaccinate or wear a mask? Why do they make all their employees wear masks when it doesn't seem like masks do anything? It's so stupid. They're trying to control people. No, they're not. It's because they're all leftists. No, that's not why. In my opinion, that's not why. I run a company and I work for companies. They are limiting their liability. If you're my employee and you get COVID and then your child gets it, or your wife gets it, or your grandmother gets it, and they die, you will then sue me because you say, I got COVID at your job place. My safety was your responsibility when I worked for you, because that's the law. When you're on the job place, your safety, your acute safety, meaning not getting back injury, not getting your finger cut off, and not getting some disease at work, that's all on me as an employer, right? And so you say, were you aware that if you would have made everyone wear a mask, I could have not gotten that disease? Well, the answer to that is yes, I was aware of that, and yet I didn't do it. You were negligent. And that's a $20 million payout, wrongful death suit. All companies are looking at that saying, what does it cost for us to make you wear a mask? Well, what does a mask cost? Yeah. 10 cents, 2 cents, 5 cents, whatever they cost. It cost me 5 cents to make you wear a mask. And then if you get COVID, you come and try to sue me. I can then say in court, I did everything the CDC advised to ensure your safety. And that was simply an act of God. It was out of our hands. But if you can show that I knew that I could do this one simple thing, how much does a mask cost? 5 cents. My life wasn't worth 5 cents to you. I'm going to lose that case. I'm going to be paying out. And so that's what the companies are looking at. They're just looking at the liability of it. And so we got people who are resistant. This is what I found, amazing thing I found in where I work. People watch Hollywood movies and they get a completely wrong impression of how job site safety works and what it's about. They watch a movie, and if you watch Hollywood, you're going to think the employees all want to be safe and the employers are all pushing them to do unsafe things so they can get that bottom line. They're just trying to maximize profit, right? And they are trying to maximize profit, but not that way. So when I got to the construction in America, I was very surprised. It was completely the opposite. Companies spend millions of dollars, construction companies spend millions of dollars a year to hire people to roam the job site, looking for people, employees, who want to do things unsafe, because everybody wants to do unsafe things. Constantly. You should see the stuff I see. It's crazy stuff. Dangling ladders over balconies. One guy's holding it, and the other guy's crawling out trying to paint, just because they don't want to go get the extension, right? They don't want to walk down and get the extension, so they'll just do the most craziest things. And the companies are paying people, and then when they catch them and they say, hey, you can't be cutting metal with sparks flying in your face without glasses and a shield, the employees don't thank them. They're pissed off and hate the safety guy who's just trying to keep them from getting hurt.
I know somebody who does a job just like that, and he says he's constantly, well, where he worked previously taught him to be able to talk to older people. And so what he does now is he has to get a crash course in Spanish, but he has to tell them casco, chaleco, their vest and the boots and
safety glasses.
The glasses. In fact, he's called me a couple of times. Hey, how do you say this? How do you say that? He feels awkward because he has a sense of respect for his elders, older people. But he says it's a constant battle, and he's having to throw people off the work site.
That's right.
He says he feels bad at the same time. He goes, but I know what it's like. So he's not the inspector.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, he's not the inspector.
Mm-hmm. He's not the safety officer.
Right. Those are actual his projects.
Yeah.
He's been assigned.
He's the project manager.
Right. There you go. That sounds close enough. And so when the actual inspector comes, he's hopefully got all those things.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess there's several inspectors, in these job sites for different things. I guess the electric or the whatever. Anyhow, so but it's a constant battle. It's the employees not doing what they're supposed to do, and it's
because this is what will happen, and this has happened on a number of job sites I've been on. So an employee will climb up onto the top rung of a step ladder, which you're not allowed to be on. It's illegal to get up above the top 2 rungs, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be on the 3rd one down. It's the highest you can go on a step ladder legally, right? Well, they'll climb up on the top because you can reach more, right? And you don't want to go get the bigger ladder, and it's a pain to carry the bigger ladder, so you do it. Everyone does it. I never do it. Never. No, they do it. So they're up on top, and they fall off. And a fall off of a 6-foot ladder is one of the most dangerous falls you can take because you don't have time. You don't have sufficient reflexes to get yourself onto your feet. You fall off, you fall right on your head. So a 6-foot fall is very dangerous, much more than like a 12-foot fall. Because on a 12-foot fall, you got enough time for your reflexes and you get yourself turned around. At least you land on your feet. You may break your leg, but you don't land on your head, right? Well, you fall off a 6-foot ladder, you land right on your head. You just bam, right on your head. You fall, you land on your head, you're paralyzed or seriously hurt. Yeah. They sue the company, the GC. In your case, this project manager, the superintendent, whoever he is, they sue that company because that company knew people were doing it, including the guy that did it, and didn't enforce the rules. So that's why they have to enforce the rules. Because they will tell you, don't stand up there. You get mad and cuss them out. But if that same guy falls off, he's going to sue you and he's going to win. Because it was your job to not let him do it. It doesn't matter that you told him 100 times, you kicked him off the job. If he does it on your job site and he falls, it's your responsibility. You're liable. You're going to pay. And he's going to go home. He's going to cash out. That's how it is. That's what companies are looking at. So they're saying, how can we make these people mask up? If they have a vaccine, they don't have to have a mask. We don't want to make everyone with vaccines wear masks, but we can't let people lie about being vaccinated and being here without a mask, even if we don't think masks work. Because all that matters is if anybody in this office gets sick, they're going to say, you knew that people were coming in this office lying about being vaccinated and not wearing a mask, and you let it happen. And they're going to get sued. And they're going to lose.
So going back to the law enforcement thing, I know when I was with the city, with SAPD, we we had a training for everything. This new trend or this new thing is going on. And we'd have what we call roll call trainings, and we'd sit there and have to watch a video, and not just watch a video.
Do a test.
You signed
that you saw it, you understood
you went
it.
through the roll call training, everything. They don't mess around. They cover themselves. So that way, guess whose fault it is when you should have been paying attention to that video on that particular training for whatever it was. I don't know how many we year.
Well, I have to watch them every job site I go to. Every single one, even if I'm working for the same company I worked for yesterday, even if it's the same GC and it's the same video.
Wow.
Every job site I go to, I have to watch their video or listen to their speech. They got all the different ways they do it. But I got to sit there, and then they give me a sticker. And if you look at my hard hat I wear, it's got like 3 layers completely covered with these stickers from the 15 years I've been doing this. And it's just like thick, covered. And I got to have them on because I can't enter the job site without them seeing that sticker. That means I've been through and I've heard the speech or I watched the video.
Can you peel off the old sticker and put the new one?
It's a new sticker for every job site. Every job site has its own sticker.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've seen it hundreds of times.
I'll have to ask and see if my buddy, that person I know.
If they do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, if he's in commercial construction, they do. If he's in residential, probably not. But commercial construction, they all do the same thing. They have a little sticker. Some of them actually have a badge that you wear, but most of them is just a hard hat sticker. And I have thousands of stickers on my hard hat. It's just layers deep. I just keep piling them on. It just gets thicker and thicker.
Yeah. You're hoping when you fall that it's going to...
Yeah, it's like real cushiony now. It's my body armor.
Yeah. Speaking of, I've been, the order I lost, or maybe there was just, they knew I was going to expand a little bit more. Just wait, give him a few months. You order one, it's not going to fit by the time he gets it.
You order double XL. They laugh. They know that's they're like, oh please, one arm maybe.
Yeah. Or maybe the manufacturer couldn't get that much material together.
they got to grow the Kevlar a little bigger before they kill it.
You're suiting out a whole department here. Just one guy. So yesterday we were talking to this guy, and he was in and out of, he was falling asleep. He was on some kind of medication. But anyways, and he just happened, I walked into it because I asked him, I say, how old are you, man? Because, he looked unhealthy. And he goes, I was born. And he kept on falling asleep and waking up. And, I felt bad for the guy, but I still wanted to know I was just curious because he looked older. But I didn't think that he was as old as he looked. And he said, I was born in 1965. And I said, man, that's when I was born. I said, hey, I'm 55 also. He goes, man, you look really healthy. And the two, I don't want to say who I was with, but yeah, they just looked at me like, he's very healthy. I said, yeah, okay.
Well, fat keeps you from wrinkling. I don't know if you knew that. You stretch out.
That's why I never have to iron my clothes.
I thought that was body paint, Albert.
Yeah. This is actually it had a crease in it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to have to do something if they're going to want to. If companies, they're going to get sued by libertarians. Though, going back to the HEPA issue, because even though I think corporations have a right to tell that, we have laws like you say, the HEPA laws that don't allow them to, and there's going to have to be some adjustment if they're going to be able to do that, because they'll get sued by libertarians saying that you can't ask me that question. And you can't tag me with that answer. But to what you're saying or what you asked me originally about it, I don't have a problem with it. I think that private companies have a right to ask that information because it pertains to the job site, pertains to the safety of the job site. And if you don't like it, don't work there. Yeah. Now, if the government wants to do it on the street, that's a different thing. Now we're talking about civil liberties.
Okay, so I guess that was the point. Is that right now it's just small companies, and they, from what I'm hearing, because I imagine this company, it is a big, it is a national company, if I'm correct. So they don't have anything to really back them up on this. They may, but this HIPAA thing is also going to be an issue. But if the government can come in and say, because I'm not talking about other things, I'm talking about just this pandemic thing. You can't travel if you haven't been vaccinated, or you or you have to wear a mask or whatever. If you're gonna be in this, if you're gonna go to another state or whatever, that's still a form of control that you can't. I understand the mask,
but wearing pants is a form of control.
Well.
I don't want to wear pants.
Yeah. I go to a wedding.
I mean, you go into a restaurant, they make you come in fully clothed with shoes.
Well, because I've decided to choose to do so. But I'm claustrophobic. I have a little bit everything, even though everything fits me snug. I don't like to be bound up. I hate it. I hate that, I don't know if you notice, I do this a lot. I don't want to comb my hair, but I want to. So that's why I put on a cap. But hats actually bother me. And I say, "Oh, you're always wearing a cap. You're always wearing a hat." They bother me. I just don't want to comb my hair. I think I'm more lazy than claustrophobic. So,
well, then I can't feel sorry for you. You can't use that as a card. Your Honor, I'm claustrophobic, but I'm actually lazier than I am claustrophobic. I don't know that you're making a good argument there, Albert.
I feel. I mean, there's times where I think I can't breathe, and I know I can. I chased the guy one time, and it was an air conditioning guy. It was on Military Drive, and I think it was where the old Wendy's is. I think Wendy's is still there. I don't know. Between Wendy's and it's now where you loan a quick place where we get money. I think it was a Popeye's chicken. Anyhow, so I'm chasing this guy, and I was a lot thinner back then, and I caught him, and in fact he was trying to kick the privacy fence between the two restaurants. Guy comes up and I'm just leaning on it because, hey, you need some help? I said, yeah, sit on it. I could breathe. There was nothing. I guess the guys must have thought I was crazy because with the uniform, they zip, unbutton, and I just pulled my vest off. I felt like I couldn't breathe. There's nothing obstructing my air. So this mask does the same thing. I'm getting air, but it just.
I understand. I don't like them.
I just hate it.
I don't like the mask, and I basically refuse to wear them for the most part. I do sometimes, but I'm not a mask proponent, and the reason is because I think it's completely silly. I think that masks could be a very good idea and probably could have saved a lot of lives, but it's not going to be these masks and not being worn this way. The way we're wearing them, and like going to a restaurant. We were at a restaurant last night, and these two ladies are in there, and they got their masks on. We're sitting outside in the waiting areas, an outside waiting area, on the sidewalk. They're wearing their masks as they're sitting in their thing. What's hilarious is they're going to walk inside the restaurant, sit down and take them off.
Yeah.
Like you're wearing them when you're sitting down, and they were not like round. They were like 12 feet away. They had the chairs way far apart. They're way over there underneath a tree wearing their mask by themselves. They're going to walk in a crowded restaurant, sit down, and take them off. That's the stupidity I can't stand.
Oh, the ones driving by themselves.
Yeah, well, they just don't want to look at themselves. I understand. You know, the funny one, I went through it. I was going through a drive-through, like a little taco place drive-through, and the guy in front of me had a gas mask on by himself in the car. I mean, the actual thing with a hose. And he's in the car by himself with a gas mask. I'm wondering, who are you afraid of? Who are you getting contagious from? But the worst ones were when it first started. We went to like this little frozen yogurt place, and we're in there, and of course we weren't wearing masks at the time. It still wasn't required in Texas. It was like just getting started. The people were now wearing them. The employees were wearing them, right? Well, this family comes in, and they're all wearing the gas mask, the actual full, like, seal to the face, full, big old thing. They come in. The little kid had one on. The mom and the dad, they all had these on.
Wow.
And they're ordering ice cream. How are you going to eat the ice cream? You're going to stuff it through the little filter? No, they stepped outside, and they took off the gas mask and ate ice cream served with the hand of somebody who wasn't wearing a gas mask. Like, this doesn't make any sense. I can see being so petrified of a disease, and a disease being legitimately so dangerous that we all are going to wear these things. But I'm not going to restaurants. If I think I need to wear a gas mask, I am not going to go eat at a restaurant where who knows what they're doing back in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go, I'm not going anywhere. And I'm certainly not going to take it off to eat an ice cream. That's just nonsense. So it's the nonsense that I object to.
I've never seen anything really crazy. I've seen goggles, a mask, a shield.
Mm-hmm.
I seen a guy wearing the hat. It didn't have the top part, but on his hat he had these things to keep you away. There's like 2 or 3.
I gotta get some of those. I need to get them sticking out of my body in all directions.
Well, now on YouTube, you can find them, and I've seen those memes or some of that. Where the guy had the pool,
the cue.
Yeah.
Noodles.
Yeah,
the noodles.
And it said stay back or something like that. Those are on YouTube. Yeah. There was one walking around with an actual like a bubble. I don't know.
I did see that. He was inside a big like a ball, and he's like rolling it.
No. This one was like it was on wheels. It was a square though. I thought it was round. And if I remember, and she's pushing her cart. And he's actually surrounded by that was a video.
I saw this one lady in Austin. She was in Home Depot, and she had like this mask and big head covering thing, big old, and she couldn't see out of it. So she's trying to see, and she's pushing her cart. She kept running into cars. Oh! And she couldn't see. She kept hitting things. Finally, she got to her car, took it all off. Why?
COVID didn't kill her. She couldn't see the car that ran her over.
That's just so hilarious. So, like, at some point, you have to take it off, right? You're out in the street. How are you going through a door? How are you getting in a car? Where are you going? What are you out in the street for? If you're in this bubble, where are you going?
Yeah.
You're going to some place. You're going to get out of it and walk in.
Yeah.
It's like people don't have any clue what we're even talking about. If there ever were a serious pandemic, and I know I don't mean to minimize the people that have died from this, right? But this has not been anywhere close historically to serious. If we ever had one, like the bubonic plague or something of that nature, we're in trouble because we have no clue what it means to quarantine. It's like when people say, I quarantined. I was at home for 3 days. Quarantine, the word, means 40 days. That's what that word means. When they quarantine, it comes from four. Yeah, it means 40. It means you get locked up away with no contact for 40 days. People don't have a clue how to. We are so soft, and we are so privileged. The entire civilized world that we don't have a clue. We are all going to die. If there is ever anything that keeps us out of a restaurant.
Yes.
If there's ever a moment we really are,
Don't even talk like that. Okay?
it's like if you leave your house and go to Taco Bell, you will die. There's going to be a huge drive-through line at the Taco Bell. They're going to be there. They're going to be like, whatever. Even if I die, I'm going to go get my tacos.
What I love, and it makes me feel super safe, is the plexiglass at like HEB. Because it keeps them from breathing on me, but they can breathe on my food. Because they're scanning.
Rubber gloves is another thing that just cracks me up. They grab doorknobs.
Yeah.
And they're touching.
And that's what they're so funny. They always say, well, doctors wear them. Not like that, they don't.
Wear hundreds of them throughout a
They
day.
act like they go do surgery and they have bloody, and they leave them on.
Yeah, they eat a sandwich with them on it. Yeah, I've seen doctors. They don't even put them on themselves.
We go into a operating room that is still lacked to be cleaned, and we still have to go in with a full gown. And then when we walk out, we have to take off that gown, throw it away. When we go back in, put it back, put a new one on.
Yeah.
New mask, new gloves, everything. Every time you come out, you got to throw it all away.
This is construction. And you open, what's funny is I open these outlets, and there's like bugs in them.
Yeah, I know.
It's so disgusting.
Yeah, we go into ORs, and they're like that, right? And they're going to come in and purify this OR when we're done.
Yeah.
They still make us do that. But we're in there, and we got to take all the outlet covers off because we're putting plastic on the walls. And we take the outlet covers off, and they're all filled with bugs and just grody stuff inside there. We're like, really? You're worried about me? I'm the problem?
Yeah, some silverfish and roaches.
Yeah, exactly. It's real funny.
They're ridiculous about it.
But even then, I mean, we watch. Watch them, and yes, doctors wear this stuff. They wear it very differently than we're wearing it. Well, they're not pulling some old grody mask out of their pocket,
see, that's what I think
sticking it on.
You need your mask. And I pull this nasty looking thing that's full of grease, and I open it up. It's all crusty. And I go, you better? You feel safe now? So much better.
Yeah, I saw initially I saw there was a man smoking, had a hole in his, of the HEB. I'll never forget that. I thought I'd see more of that, but I guess you don't see too many people smoking these days, but yeah, it was kind of funny.
That is interesting. Smoking through a hole in it. It's like, exactly, this is what I'm talking about. So in theory, I don't have any problem with the mask. I don't have any problem with the vaccinations, any of these things. But the way we're implementing them is just all theater. It's just all theater. It's all for show. It's all to say I care. It's all to say I'm a good person. It's not real. Because we could make rules where it was real, and it would probably help a lot. Right? We could make rules of distancing that would help. 6 feet. We're going to distance 6 feet. Why? That's silly. That's not even close to far enough. Not even close. It needs to be like 30 feet is what research shows.
Wow.
30 to 35 feet distance between everyone. How is that even possible?
Yeah, I've seen something that's talk about the mask just not being. I mean, the air still coming out.
Well, there's dispute over that. The problem isn't whether the mask works. Let's say it does, and I'm willing to stipulate that a medical mask would help. It's not going to stop. It's not going to be 0% infection, right? But let's say it cut it down 20%. Well, that works out to millions of lives. It's worth it. But not when you're taking it off. You're like, you have to wear a mask unless on the plane. I went to Mexico on a plane. You have to wear a mask. Okay. But we'll sell you a water bottle and you can drink it. And we'll sell you Skittles and you can eat them. Okay, give me the biggest bag of Skittles and the biggest water you have.
Yeah.
And I sat there the whole trip.
And we're flying with you. We're flying with United, which kicked off a whole family for a lifetime. They can't ever fly on United Airlines ever again because their 10-year-old daughter wouldn't wear a mask. Well, you go fly with them, you wear a mask, but you're eating Skittles, and they're completely fine with that.
Yeah, they sell you the Skittles. Yeah. You can take off your mask and eat Skittles the whole trip.
The entire trip.
I did it. I just sat there, and every time the stewardess walked by, I'd put a Skittle in my mouth. Yeah, that's what it's the silliness of it. That's the problem. We don't have a clue how to survive. Not a clue. We're just lucky that this turned out to be nothing, and relatively speaking, historically.
Well, it's a practice run.
Maybe.
So you don't think that? Okay, so you don't think the government, whoever that may be, or the powers that be, or
Mhm.
whatever, have said, "Hey, this is a good thing that we can make people dependent on us."
Well, I don't think that there's any
For more
any
control.
conspiracy to that. I don't think there's any conscious thing saying that. I don't think that there's any serious politician saying that in his own head or or much less to anyone else. I think that government. I'm libertarian leaning, so I think that government, in its very nature, is that way all the time. Is always looking to maximize authority control, right? Minimize public freedom, because the duty, the task of a government is inherently an opposition to your freedom, right? You're a policeman. You want to keep the peace. That means telling some people they can't do what they want to do. That's just what it means.
I
You
understand
can't go
some
around
government.
telling everybody do anything you want, because that won't result in peace. That will result in problems. So you have to tell some people, we're going to limit your freedom. Your freedom is going to be limited because we're going to strive for public peace. And so that's you as a policeman. That's what you do. You limit freedom. I want to drive down my highway the way I want, and you don't want me to.
Right. I still think. I mean, I'm not saying that we want to do away with government. Obviously, there is some good. We need,
But that's the tension.
right.
See, and there's no people want to think that there's some way we can get rid of that tension. Like if there was like somehow this pandemic has created it. The tension has always been there. The government wants to maximize control and the individual wants to maximize freedom. And we have this opposition. It'll always be there. The government cannot maximize freedom because then it wouldn't be the government anymore. It would be chaos. And the individual can't maximize control because then he wouldn't be an individual anymore. He would just be a subservient to the government. He'd be a serf. So we have to have the tension. And the people have to insist upon their freedom, and the government has to insist upon its control.
But it seems like more and more that these liberties are being taken away from us, or from people, and I think the pandemic. I mean, so they're talking about a lot of folks that say they can't find work because they're getting their little check every, the unemployment, whatever. It is.
The unemployment checks are the problem.
Yeah, and
It's not the stimulus. That's not the problem.
but it's a good way to keep. If the government keeps funding this, right, it's a good way to make people at least a test run again, saying, "Hey, I'd like to live like this. I get to stay home. I don't, we all it would be a different society because everybody's going to make the same, So I've heard the talk, just stupid little, things where people believe that, hey, there's enough money to go around for everybody. We all get. I've even heard was one guy was saying, hey, there's people that got 2 and 3 homes. They need to give up those homes and. Just silliness.
Sure.
But anyway, so they should give them to the government, and they'll dispense those homes to other people.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So I just see that, like I said, I see this. I don't want to say indoctrinating, but teaching people that, hey, it's okay we can take care of you.
And that is again the nature of the government. Government, I don't believe this is a conspiracy. I don't believe that you can look at it and say, well, are they thinking this consciously? Hey, let's use unemployment to subjugate the entire nation and turn them all into serfs. I don't think that that's like written down policy or spoken policy or anyone's actually attempting to do that. I think that for the most part, serious politicians, especially those on the left, are very concerned with wanting to help people. And they say, well, we have made it hard for them to have jobs. So we're going to increase unemployment benefits, increase the limitations, how long they can get it, and decrease the requirements of them looking and accepting other work. Because they have all these requirements. If you're on unemployment and you're offered a job at the same level of compensation, you have to take it, right? Well, they're taking those things away because they feel like that's not being helpful to people. And they want to help people. I always attribute to stupid good intentions rather than to conspiratorial, evil, Machiavellian desires. I think that that these politicians have great intentions and they're just idiots, rather than that they have bad intentions and they're evil geniuses. I look at the politicians and I don't think they're geniuses of any kind, not much less evil geniuses. I think they're just really stupid people with good intentions.
But then how does a politician who makes, let's just say, $100,000 a year, at the end of their career are multi-millionaires because they wrote a book or something?
Oh, part of them because they wrote a book, because they invest, because a lot of them are living a disciplined life as far as when it comes to their own finances. This is the thing this is the thing that you have to realize. Anybody who made that level of income and didn't spend it all at McDonald's would also be a multimillionaire. The real indictment, in my opinion, isn't that these politicians are wealthy. Why would we want to elect somebody? Imagine what your opinion would be of a politician if you said, look at this senator. We paid them $300,000 a year and they're broke. Is that somehow better? Would that be like, wow, that's wonderful. We paid them $300,000 a year. They were in Congress for 50 years and they're penniless. We'd say, what? Why would we let him handle the government, the public funds, if he blew all his money and doesn't have any money for retirement? You see what I mean? It's really a double standard.
Well, I just think that there's a lot of, and I don't know how it all works, but I think there's, politicians out there that are fleecing the flock. They're finding ways to.
Absolutely.
If I have something that I can give you and under the table, I get it back. Because I don't think everything's above board. I agree. You do what you do, and I have a building, a government building. And I have to say so. And I have 1 million bathrooms. It needs to be, and I'm going to give you this, but I'm going to get something back from it, from maybe at the other end. Those are the things that I'm going
to campaign for you, or some a cause that you are in favor of is going to get a big donation, I'm going to do a campaign stop with you, or I'm going to talk to my union members about your re-election. And
so those are the government. I mean, that's why I think that they want more government control, because it lessens our power.
Yeah, exactly.
To have any say so on what they do, and as long as you're in those positions, because look at who got rich in Venezuela. Only the politicians. I know, and
But that's where we see that we're not Venezuela, and our system is not theirs, because the politicians are not the wealthiest people in this country. They aren't even in the top 10,000. They're not in the top 1 million.
Okay, so I know a certain politician who gave up a very, very successful law practice to go into public. It's about power. Because he's very.
Well, of course, but what's wrong with that? Because with power comes the ability to do something.
Right. Okay, so
I would like to have power, because then I could implement things that I think would be beneficial.
Okay, so that's what they do. They get the power, and then I'm not saying that this particular individual is doing that, but the politicians in these countries, or in our country, once they get the power, they utilize it for their own personal good. I mean,
some of them do.
Yeah. I mean,
some of them.
There's I don't even want to mention her name. She's in California. She lives just outside of her own district in a $4 or $5 million home. That.
I don't have a problem with that. I think that
if she earned it honestly, but there's a lot of.
But if she didn't, then find the documentation, find the evidence, and indict them. Yeah. Right. That's why we have laws about it. She keeps getting reelected,
so apparently, nobody has a problem with it.
And the people reelecting, if we're talking about a congressman, are the very people in her district who, if she's fleecing, is fleecing them. Yeah. It's hard to, I have a hard time.
And you don't want to.
And I'm not saying that there are no crooked politicians. I think that is the go-to lazy accusation of people to say, well, the politicians, they're rich. Why wouldn't they be rich? The reason, this is what people don't realize. And this is a really good point you bring up. But this is what people don't realize. People think that somebody's rich because they got access that they themselves didn't get. That politician got an access I didn't get. That's why he's rich and I'm poor. No, that is hardly ever the truth. The truth is, rich people are rich because they think better. They act better. They're more disciplined. They're smarter, they're quicker, they are less bad risk averse and more good risk enabled. So they may take good risks and they avoid bad risks, and they see opportunities, they identify them, they know what they are, and they jump on them, utilize them, and they get wealthy. And it doesn't just happen we know this is a case because it doesn't just happen in politics. People like Elon Musk, who, let's say 25 years ago, was buying used car parts at a junkyard to fix his beat up car,
BMW,
it becomes the wealthiest man in the world and starts flying spaceships to the moon. How does that happen? Did he get an access? Did he get some little golden ticket that I didn't get and it's unfair?
Well, no.
Or is he just better at it?
Okay, but that's the private sector. Nobody funded him.
But it works the same way in all sectors. The only time when you look at it, in my opinion, the only time when you can look at it and say this is pure corruption is if it only happens in the public sector. So when you go to Venezuela, who is rich? Only the politicians. And you go to communist Russia, who's rich? Only the politicians. That's corruption. But when you look at a country like America, everything you do, see, we want to separate out and say that there is a public good and a private good. There's a public sector and a private sector, and that public sector people should all be poor and penniless and just serve me for my own. Well, what if we said that about the police? Why are police getting paid more than me?
Well, that's a paycheck. But if I, okay, so let's just say this. Okay, let's say that I don't have a business. I don't have anything on the side. There's nothing, no other income. And I'm just a cop.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a few shady friends here and there, and I have a, $1 million home. You're gonna wonder, how did this police officer, who makes X amount a year, or deputy sheriff now, I'm sorry, who makes X amount a year, have that? Okay, so I mean, unless I just didn't, and it's obviously that I eat. So it's not,
you're not avoiding McDonald's.
There's a great percentage of my income that goes for my ingoing.
It's actual income.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, how does that happen? How does that, and there's been a reason why I bring this up. It's not that I've done the research myself, because YouTube is my encyclopedia.
Right.
I use them, or my dictionary, for everything. And I hear these people chopping this down on how a person can have so much over a political career of, I mean, you mentioned one, AOC, who's, I think there was something to do with some monies that maybe during the election or whatever, she was funding to like a boyfriend who was a campaign. I don't remember all the details, but there was some money that was not supposed to be, and it's there now, and so, but those are the kind of things that I see, because these people get money all the time, and they call them, this is a such and such, fund for whatever re-election or for whatever, but it's really not. It's just named that, but it's getting.
Well, I don't know how accurate that is. I know people say this, but there's also, I mean, government agencies are prowling that incessantly. They have put congressmen in prison for misappropriation of funds. There are popular congressmen who have gone to jail because they misappropriated funds because they took campaign funds and used them wrong. This stuff is very, very, very scrutinized. I'm not saying it never happens. I'm not saying that none of them do it. I'm just saying that the idea that somehow you get to be elected and all of a sudden you just can just take money from wherever you want and you just spend it on yourself and everyone's like, well, nothing be done about it. That just isn't reality. Now, is there a lot of money there and it washes around and it flows in and out like the tide and covers everything up and washes over everything and everyone gets richer in the course? Yeah, probably so. But again, I don't understand why we want our politicians to be penniless.
Well, I don't want all that.
Well,
but it's not like, you can look at some politicians, some of the guys, and I know you're going to say he or she is a better thinker, but those facts can't be brought out. If they pick on one particular, then I think all the politicians would get picked on. Hey, this guy lives in these million dollar homes. I mean, all that would be brought out on every re-election cycle, and you don't hear that about all of them. They're out there. But
I hate hearing it at all because I think it's a lousy criticism. I think it's a lousy criticism. Let me give you an example of this because it was very interesting you bring this up because I was just reading an article. Do you know that show, the 19 and Counting? Did you ever hear of that show? Those Duggars. I don't know how you pronounce her name. Duggars. Duggars. John Duggar. He has like 19 kids. Him and his wife have like 19 kids.
It's Dugar, right?
Dugar, is that what it is?
I think. Go ahead. So
it's some show. I never watched it, but it's like a reality show. You never heard of this?
Never.
Yeah, it's like a man and his wife, and they don't believe in birth control at all. They're like they're Christians, I think they're Christians, and they call them what? They call them what do they call that movement? The full feather, the full arrow, quiverful. The quiverful movement. So they believe that God gives you all the kids that he wants to give you. And you just have sex all you want, and all the kids pop out, as many as you can possibly have, and that's all blessings of God. So they got like 19 kids or 20 kids now. They're not like polygamous. It's just like one man and one woman. She's giving birth to 20 kids, right? She's a trooper. So anyways, they got this reality show. Well, they just came out with this hit piece on them. And I'm not defending them. There's a lot of problems with it. I don't agree with their doctrine. I hate reality shows and everything. But anyways, they put out this hit piece on this in this article. And it's all about their real estate empire. Their real estate empire. They just expanded their real estate empire. They bought 20 acres.
Wow.
This is what I'm talking about. Somebody doesn't like their doctrine. Someone doesn't like how they got their money. That they took their kids and they turned them into a freak show, and they took their sex life and turned it into a freak show and put it on TV and became millionaires. And somebody doesn't like that. It's distasteful to somebody. I don't like it either. I don't like that. I don't like reality show, and I especially don't like it where they're trying to make it like somehow this is Christian and we're serving God by having all these kids and we're going to parade them out on TV. And the son, one of the oldest son, turned out to be, he's on trial for child pornography now, and he molested some of the daughters, and they got a mess in their life, and they're parading it on TV, and I don't like it. It makes me want to puke in my mouth. Yeah. But I don't care what house they live in, and I don't care how they spend their money. The same way I feel with politicians. If they're doing something illegal, I want the FBI to be all up in them, and I want them to prosecute them. And just like they did with that congressman from Ohio that I really liked. I mean, I really liked the guy. He was a Democrat, but he was one of the old Democrats. Mm-hmm. And he'd give these little 1-minute speeches on the floor of the House. Every morning he gave a 1-minute speech. He did that every morning. Great little speeches. I loved the guy. Forget what his name was now. Let's start with a T. Tarrant, something like that. Anyways, Ohio. Well, he was using staffers to clean the barns, his stables and stuff, and on his empire, on his real estate empire, in his mansion. They always call it a mansion. You look at it, it's like a 12-room house. It's like the mansion, some little metal building, the mansion. Yeah, he's using staffers to clean out his stables. Well, that's illegal.
Yeah,
that's illegal. He went to jail, and he was a Democrat, serving under Clinton. And the FBI came in and put him in jail. Now, I'm not saying no one gets away with it. I'm just saying that there is a lot more scrutiny than you realize. And yes, they write laws in ways that they can do things that are distasteful, but yet legal. I understand that, and we should fix those laws. Yeah. But none of the problem is that they are individually wealthy. To me, that's not the problem. I don't want to elect anybody to president who isn't. Why do we want some pauper as president? It means he can't even earn money. He can't accumulate. You're making $100,000 a year and you can't accumulate $1 million in 20 years. That's pretty sad.
Yeah.
That's pretty sad. People who say that are generally people who are spending all their money, and then they're wondering why someone can't put together. Well, how did they get that money? Maybe they didn't spend it all.
Yeah, that's true. I know there's ways to save money, earn your money, save it, and
and invest it
over 20 years,
and invest it.
Yeah.
So what are you spending it on? So what if they go in and they buy stocks or they buy real estate investments and they're able to sell it? Like, for instance, people say those evil 1%, terrible. I know that's not what you're saying, but these people that, the evil 1%. Do you realize that every single homeowner in this city immediately goes into the top 1% when they sell their house? They're actually in the government keeps track of who's where on the the IRS does. You are put into the 1% when you sell a house because that's income. Doesn't matter that you worked your whole life, spent a lot of money to buy it and keep it up and maintain it. When you sell your house, and right now the market's real high, right? So your house is maybe worth $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. You sell your house, you that year made $400,000. You're in the 1%. Just that fast. Next year, you won't be. You're back to where you were. But that year, you're in the 1%. All of a sudden, you're the evil person. You sold a house. Everyone sells a house.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Hopefully. I wish everyone could.
Wow. So we went from... We still haven't talked about the donuts.
Yeah, the donuts. Hey, let's set the record straight, because I remember you told me this once. You tell me if you've maintained your discipline on this. You told me you never ate a donut as a policeman.
In uniform? No, I never have. I cannot recall ever, going to a donut place. Well, I take it back, because I'm sorry. That's a complete lie. So I've gone to a donut place. I've never eaten a donut while I was there. I've had coffee. I was always embarrassed because the older guys, when I was a new a boot officer, you did want to hang around with your buddies, but they knew as much as you did, nothing. So you want to hang around with some of the older guys because
smart.
Yeah. So and it was funny. Probably I think I said this the last time we talked. You'd get the message on your. Back then they called it MDTs. Now it's a laptop. 1400. That's all you'd see. Oh, or have them meet me at 1400. Get on the radio. Sounds official, right? It's 1400 block of Southwest Military Drive. It's for the Dunkin' Donuts. It's no joke. It's not. I don't know if it's still there. I don't think it is a Dunkin' Donuts.
You don't know if they're still using the same code. You just ratted out the whole department. McManus watches this podcast. I don't know if you knew that. He's one of my viewers.
So. Yeah, everybody knows what 1400 at least on the overnight shift. And so it was a funny joke that I would tell people all the time. But I was embarrassed, and they would tell me, hey, or go pick up donuts. God, I hated it. And I said, at night it wasn't too bad. It's 2, 3 in the morning because that's the only place it was.
Would you go in with a mask on? This is a holdup.
I'm all about masking.
Got your name tag right there.
In the 90s, I was a guy where. No, I mean, honestly, I've never eaten at our church right now. All the pastries and stuff. I don't know why. I'm not saying I don't eat donuts.
Oh, okay.
I've never done it in uniform.
That's something you do in private. Yeah. You're like a big Winnie the Pooh over there with your little.
In uniform, I just go out and buy donuts. I work it kills me because now at the office somebody. Well, there for a while, it's like on a Thursday or a Friday or whatever it was, and there'd be a whole row of those glazed things, and I'd walk by, and oh my goodness. Of course, I'm not in a uniform.
Yeah.
I don't wear a uniform. I wear a soft polo shirt. At least in the public. Yeah, I just didn't like
You didn't like the look of the stereotypical, the stereotype of the cop with the donut.
I would get offended. People, I would get offended with the donut jokes. But that's still so 1980s, 1990s, I'm sorry. It's tacos.
It's tacos now.
Southside, I was Southside cop, so it's tacos. They did not have taco trucks when I was, on patrol back in the, those days, overnight. Right. That would have been the...
That would have been the code.
Yeah, well, the thing is that they're all over the place, so it would have been many codes. Been many codes.
It'd be the safest place establishments in the entire city.
Yeah, so that's but I've never really I'll eat, don't get me wrong, said I like my sweets, but yeah, that's not one of the things that just, and I can't I just don't like to be, because there's not a lot of room anyways, and so I overeat on duty. I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
It's like, and now sugar does this weird thing to me because I can eat just a little chocolate, something or other, and it's like I go into a coma. I mean, immediate
Really?
food coma. I don't know if that. I don't know if they. I've never had anything, no issues. I give blood all the time for, Jackie's always making me go to the doctor, her in her medical field that she's in, so she's always got to get the checkups. I guess she wants.
And you're healthy? You're all good? Everything good?
Yeah, so far.
All right.
So,
But when you eat a little bit of sugar, it gives you like a
oh my goodness.
sugar spike. And you don't feel well.
If I eat carbs, 'cause I see now, I think this is what it's from. Is that I'm always on this. Not necessarily a diet. I just don't like to eat a lot of carbs because I get that stuffed feeling. I'm already
Yeah.
stuffed enough, and it's like, but you get that. I don't know if it's gas or what, but it's just like, oh, I hate it.
Yeah, that's how anyone who feels who's on. And I have family members who do high protein, low carb diets. And if they eat carbs, I mean, you want them at the moment. You're like, oh, I want that. And when they eat it, they say they just feel terrible afterwards.
Well, I can actually feel my heart beating. Like,
Wow.
like, oh, it's horrible. Because I'll go, like, okay, so then I know you're probably not going to believe me. Okay.
No, we already know you're a big
Yesterday-
liar. You just told us the lie that you don't eat donuts, and then you say, "Well, I do
Well,
eat them. I just eat boxes of them
it
in
was-
private.
Yeah, well, in
I like to eat them
uniform.
under the
They
moonlight."
didn't let me finish. It was in uniform. I didn't finish the sentence. But so I get up. We had assignment yesterday, so I hadn't eaten dinner. I ate dinner, so that would have been, I don't know, 7, 8. I got up in the morning, had to do my, this horse thing we were doing. I didn't get home. I didn't eat till after 5, 6 o'clock. And I didn't have a problem with that. I mean, I went all day. I knew I was hungry, and I called Jack and said, you know what, I'm hungry. It's been, close to 24 hours. But if I eat something loaded with carbs, I'm hungry after I wake up
Yeah.
out of my
Yes,
my
that is.
trance.
It's interesting how that
I
is.
am starving. And so I watch, I don't want to say I follow 'em, but I watch these doctors that do this keto stuff. And it's just like a drug.
Mhm.
And the more you get, the more you want. And it's quick. It's only a quick fix.
Yeah.
I've seen people at work just snack all day long as they're feeding that carb addiction.
Yeah, it's like a cigarette. It's like sitting there smoking
Yeah,
a cigarette. You
right.
you have that craving for it, and you have to like quell it.
Okay, so so the doctor, I'd gone to one of my appointments, and the doctor said, your body can even be tuned into a month. So let's just say you only have sweets once a month. You're going to start knowing. And I was telling him, well, I have a cheat day once a week. He goes, I bet there's nothing you can do to get out of that. You would really have to, and it's true. Come Thursday, I'm already thinking about my cheat day on Friday. Or, yes.
Yeah, it's just like cigarettes.
Yeah. And I can go all week. I'm very disciplined. Even though it doesn't look like it, I'm very disciplined when it comes to my eating. I just don't eating sweets, okay? Because I'm not disciplined. I don't have a. Jackie says it all the time. I don't know how to the amount. I don't know how to control my.
Oh,
It's a term she always says. Yeah, because I always order. My eyeballs are, I got a, and my plate, reflects. Because I always feel like I get I always got to get the extra ribs or the extra whatever.
right.
But I can stay on that, what my mind has already been programmed to. Just like this. Coffee is becoming, or having a drink, period, when I'm driving. I have to have some, I don't care if it's a cup of water. I got to have something when I'm driving. It's all, just habit. I can't stand to drive when it almost bothers me. Like, oh, my goodness.
But it replaces you snacking.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I do. I drink unsweet tea
yeah.
when I'm driving because I drive so much now out of town to work. So I take pictures of unsweet tea with me. I drink tons of it.
I thought you said you take pictures of it.
No,
Wow, you really are
I'm really
addicted.
into it. Really deep
Got a
into
tattoo of
this.
a cup of tea.
Yeah, see Lipton.
Yeah, and it doesn't affect me to not have sweets. It's just on that day because I'm trying to cut back a little bit because I've never weighed this much. I know we've made the fat jokes before. I've never weighed this much ever in my life. I weigh 240.
Well, I didn't want to tell you. Yes, I did.
240. You've always told me, even when I wasn't. Yeah.
You should try eliminating the cheat day.
Yeah.
There's people I know that are doing similar diets, and they were having a hard time It didn't seem to be working, and they adjusted that. They did no snacking between meals and no cheat days.
Well, I don't want
And they all of a sudden started dropping weight.
yeah. Well, I don't want to call it a diet because then it's what it is. I just want to just it's how I eat.
You know, you're just playing with your own mind, right?
I know, but that's, I got to trick myself.
I don't want to. Everyone says that. I don't want to call it a diet. I want to call it my new lifestyle.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's a way of eating.
Okay. Sure it is.
Well, I don't eat breakfast.
It is managed starvation.
There you go.
That's all it is.
That's all it is.
It's managed starvation. You instead of growing want to go the other direction. You want to shrink, and to do that you have to starve yourself. There's really no way around that.
Yeah. So yeah. The less comes in. Well, you know, I bought it. I don't think I've ever had a scale. Well, we went and bought one, and I know that
At Tractor Supply.
no. Fall City.
At
City,
Jupies.
yeah, Fall City Mills.
Yeah.
They sold their old one. You can weigh the truck.
I should go to those weigh stations on 35.
There you go. Well, then
Yeah. They flag him over when they see his truck coming. They're like,
come on.
get in. There's a weight limit on this road.
I still have that placard on. Yeah. No, I'm good about. I just. Yeah,
You should do that for a month. You should cut out all snacking completely. No snacking between meals. Don't eat after 6 p.m. Don't eat in the morning.
Well, I don't eat mornings.
Good.
My problem is I
Don't eat
have
after
a
6.
8-hour window. I'm down to a 6-hour window. So
And
I
all-
eat my 2 meals, and then with
With no snacking, do you snack?
no
At
I'm-
all?
no. I'm not.
Okay, is it like the no donuts or like really no
in
snacking?
uniform, out of uniform.
Because I don't know, you're like, because you told me you never ate a donut. Now I come to find out, you were the guy that
Yeah,
went and got the donuts.
no, I've eaten donuts.
Boy, that story changed.
It's in uniform.
Oh my goodness! Now we're getting the caveats.
I just, you're a very highly intelligent guy. I can't believe you forgot that part. Can I have this water?
You can have that water. That is diet water.
This is
Yes, that is diet water. That
When I
right
get
there.
nervous, I start wanting to drink.
If you drink nothing but that and ate nothing else, I guarantee you'd lose weight. I'll give you my personal guarantee on that.
You gonna charge me for that too?
Yeah, I am.
The advice? The water's free. The advice is what.
The advice was cost money. No, you should. Yeah, then you need to cut out your day. You got to quit doing that. Do that for a month. Don't do any cheat days for a month.
Yeah, I know there'll be results because even just now, the scale has either just really.
And I'm
off.
saying that from my own Adonis like figure, right? I'm like a health god.
Yeah, I can tell.
I can yes.
So it's like.
You definitely model from yes, model after me.
Well, don't take advice from a guy that ain't got $1 in his wallet.
Hey, I know how to lose weight. I've lost millions of pounds over my lifetime.
Would you fire him?
But I put on 1,000,001.
Oh, okay. I thought you said when you lose weight, get out of my office. You're fired. Because there's 150 useless pounds.
Now you're talking about my brother-in-law. That's wrong, Albert. I don't approve.
Roughness.
I don't approve of that at all. That's just wrong, Albert. All right. Well, I had fun. I appreciate you coming in.
We didn't talk a whole lot about cop stuff.
No, not too much.
I gotta be careful in this.
I know.
Once I'm really
When
retired,
you retire, I'm gonna get you in. We're gonna have a little talk on that. We're gonna because there's some things I want to tell you.
when you bring me and Trini in one day,
that would be fun. Need to get your other buddy in here.
Which one?
I don't know. We'll find one.
Oh yeah, I'll find one.
Find a buddy in here. Get some cop stories.
We need that. Yeah, the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still.
Need to set that up.
A detective with.
Yeah.
SLPD.
But set that up.
I told you how. Man, that guy was just a magnet for.
It's funny how some of them are like that, right?
He's a cop's cop. I know a lot of people didn't like him, but I appreciate. Yeah, I should just go ask him. Hey, so what did you do? How did you? He'd catch guys that. Yeah, and I could probably just tell bits and pieces, just like I'm talking to you, without saying the name. And if anybody that remotely has an idea or has ever been around him would know that I'm talking about this guy. He's just He's just one of those guys. He's like a cop you get in the movies. He solves all those crimes.
I really want to get together with him. You need to set that up so I can
that
meet
goes.
him and talk to him some. Because
Yeah. He's got me out of some jams before, and he's helped me quite a bit. I remember one time it was a theft. Well, it was a theft of several little stores, and he goes, "Hey, you just do those two, and I'll take care of the rest." I mean, we had tons of little property that was gonna have. I'm still working on my report when he was going already done and handling other calls. He helped me with it was a DWI accident. We had a DWI accident, and I think one person got injured. And so he said, "No, I'll take the DWI, and you do the accident." And, which it usually takes longer to do DWI.
Mhm.
He was already heading back by the time I was finally getting everything polished off on the street. Records picked up and all
Yeah.
that easy stuff. Because to me, DWIs were horrible. I hated working those.
Mm.
Ugh. But anyway, yeah, we'll get him in here.
Get him in here. We'll talk again. It was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Yeah, he's a good. So well, yeah. But after I'm,
Yeah.
I
When are
think
you retiring?
well, I don't want to say too much because this is still, I'm liking
Ballpark it.
Yeah, I'm liking what I'm. It's a very like I said earlier, it's a very privileged position. I work with an excellent group of people. The office that I'm in, we just got a brand new building. Well, it's not brand new; it's brand new to us.
Uh-huh.
It's been there, so now our office is across the street. We actually have a new desk, and it's not hard work for what I do per hour. Money wise, it's making a killing. And then the special assignments, the horse stuff. I've been around that, so that's probably so I'm doing family violence work,
Mm-hmm.
assisting victims of family violence, and then of course helping with the horse unit. And that's actually a lot of work, but it's fun. I like it.
Well, and you're good at it.
So, and I found something I was good at.
Yeah. Horses identify with you.
Yeah.
You look like one of them.
They don't like when I weigh more.
I have a picture of you on a horse, and the horse doesn't look happy.
I think someone called PETA on me.
Go, PETA.
Torturing this poor animal.
He looks like an upside down camel
Yeah,
after you got off of him.
Yeah, I've had some comments. I've heard, I mean, it's just, you can't help it. You sit on a horse, and it's kind of like you're all smushed into the, and it makes, you can get a potato sack and lay it out and look too bad, and then you get it, and it just looks
Okay.
lumpy.
Okay, Albert. It
looks worse.
it's the light.
You can hide, you're behind in a car, you can hide.
Yeah, exactly.
Ain't nothing to hide, you're on a horse. All leaning that way, backwards.
They're like, hey, we didn't tell you to bring saddlebags. Oh, sorry, I didn't. I thought those were saddlebags.
How many people think I actually wear my vest? I'm not kidding either. I know you don't joke around like that. Trini Lowe said, "You wearing your vest?" I don't know how many times Trini's told me that. No, Trini, I'm not wearing my vest.
That's funny. All right. Well, thanks for coming in. Next week, next Saturday, 9 a.m., we're going to have Brent Riggs on the Freeborn Podcast. So tune in live with Brent Riggs next Saturday at 9 a.m. Albert, thanks so much for being the biggest guest